Because you've got powerful legs. How'd you get the physique? Was it gym or how'd you get the physique?
I've always been...
She's actually not got powerful legs. Do you shower in your dressing room? Do you have a shower on the day of a fight or not? Tell us about the tattoos.
Shut the fuck up, you little prick.
But then I've got the Phoenix.
Hey, prick.
So I'll take it from Bob every day of the week.
Absolute disgrace.
That's your knowing or mind.
Move him out of here, Darren.
Ricky Hatton didn't go over for his fighter because he risked getting abducted and sold into sexual
I never said that.
Both have been rape victims. I'm not watching Frank Buglioni live on Saturday night. You're out of your mind.
Jesus Christ, get yourself a life.
He's actually a priest.
Yeah.
It's because his brother John Fury eye gouged him.
What have I told you all this time? He's going to end up sucked out, fucked out, looking for a handout.
Boxing nutters messenger group. I'm gonna be the king.
J-Pump. You know what I'm saying?
Well, hello everybody and welcome to the 556th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host Steve Wellings and joining us on the call we have Matty Di Gialinardo, Andy Patterson and a returning Aussie Smith going live on YouTube from 8 o'clock every Sunday evening. The ad-free Patreon RSS feed updates shortly after the show concludes. Hello to everyone listening through the week on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify and Sports Social. Don't forget to leave a review on the podcast player of your choice throughout the entire month of January. The 21st today, nothing less than 5 stars is acceptable. Bit of a lean weekend. Aussie's back with us, which is always good. We've got Munguia coming up next weekend against John Ryder. The lights are flashing in the Wellington household. I warned the boys beforehand. If you're listening at home, then maybe your roof is about to come off like ours. It's tornado weather warnings out there. We've got the 5 versus 5. Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren. Will they be holding hands in Saudi Arabia, pitting their best against each other? We'll talk about that later. Bellew the weeks, questions, comments, etc. Matty, we'll start off first of all with your MO, the old world of women's boxing. Where did we go last night? Liverpool, wasn't it? I think Ben Shalom was promoting.
Yeah, where they boo the anthems, Steve. Both anthems. At least they're balanced.
At least they're consistent. That's the main thing. Over in the Echo Arena, M&S, whatever it's called these days. Natasha Jonas with a split decision win over Michaela Mayer. She is crying again as usual. I thought Mayer slightly outlanded Jonas on the CompuBox stats. Apparently, Matty, that was the case. Jonas's left hand worked well. Her body shots worked well. But Mayer just had a bit of a higher output towards the end. That said, I think she just lacks the power to put a dent into people.
I don't know about that, Steve. I don't know if I would call this a robbery straight out, but the fact that nobody's complaining about the 97 to 93 Mayer card, I think speaks volumes of the fight. I think through the first 3-4 rounds, you could have called it even. But beyond that, I thought Mayer took probably 4, maybe 5 of the last 6 rounds. And at some point, she just started walking down and just working to hurt Jonas. And her punches were tallying towards the end. Jonas was huffing and puffing. I thought that she was visibly hurt at a couple of times, once from a body shot. I think Mayer beat her cleanly. I think maybe you could have leaned into a draw, but I think once Michaela realized that that Jonas did not have the firepower to really hurt her, she just stepped forward and she was just walking her down and beating her up. And it's just got to be a disappointing one for Mayer, because I got to tell you, I've watched a fair chunk of her career, and I think this was a career best performance where she didn't get the correct outcome. Just too much class and, dare I say, too much ass. for Natasha Jonas.
Well, yeah, I mean, we love a bit of ass on this podcast, Matty. I'm sure I speak for everybody. Let me tell you one thing. I'm assuming you're watching the ESPN version. Tim Bradley was up to his old tricks as normal, as usual, coming off with this, that, and the other. He was slagging off Mayer's manager, Ruiz or something, I think you call him afterwards, saying he didn't do right by his fighter. That's twice he's brought him over to the UK. I think she's fought her last 4 fights over here, and twice now she hasn't got rematch clauses. He's doing her a disservice, and she needs to sack Ruiz off. Matty, would you be on board with that?
I don't think so. I kind of think you got to take the paydays as you could get them. And, when you don't hold the championship, you don't really have that luxury of having the rematch clauses in there. And I don't see Jonas giving her a rematch on her own volition either. I think she probably is Lauren Price and then done.
I think, yeah, I'll be Lauren Price and done if we have to sit through that. We'll talk about Carissa Artinstall maybe later on, maybe not, who knows. David Palmer there says, correction, Matty, Tony Bellew was complaining about the 97-93 card. And
you want to need more proof that I was right.
Andy, I know you only saw limited action in the main event, thank God. But Tony Bellew was complaining about the card. One thing he might have been complaining about this week, as he was complaining about Beterbiev last weekend, a 39-year-old fighter in Beterbiev pulling off the wins, still getting victories even at the advanced age, atypical results, etc. Do you think he'll keep that same energy for young Natasha?
Of course, no, mate. She's a fellow Scouser. Or Brit, as we like to say, but it seems to be whatever Tony says on Twitter, man, doesn't matter what he says, he seems to get a lot of pile on, doesn't he? So just reading some of his takes here just now. Get in there, brilliant, well done, champ. So I was reading the fight report. Loads are saying pretty much a close fight, but pretty much what Matty was saying, there are not many people were complaining about the Mayer card. Just that the fact is that Jonas probably got the nod when she maybe did deserve it, because apparently Mayer was shots were having more telling effect, and putting Jonas back on the back foot a little bit. That's what I read anyway. So if I'm off the mark, then my apologies. But according to Bellew, also that apparently she needed a big round somewhere. I don't know if it was down the latter half of the fight. Did she pull it out the bag? I don't know. But I have seen some people kind of complaining and stuff like with that type of scorecard, that type of fight. Again, they're asking for 12 threes, but there seems to be that the organisations or the ABCs are just unwilling to sanction these 3 minute rounds.
Why is that? I mean, are we still going by the medical thing, or would you have 3 minute rounds, Andy, if you could?
Yeah, without doubt, I would love to make it 3 minute rounds.
It's not that he'll watch them, but he thinks that there should be 3 minute rounds.
Well, I think it's the usual issue, isn't it? I mean, if you actually sit and watch a kind of top end women's fight, you're like halfway through the round, and the next minute the round's over. I just think I'd like to see a wee bit more action. You might get a wee bit more knockouts at the top level on that as well. Instead of these, you're basically picking fights all the time. You just pretty much know at that level it's going to go the distance.
Well, and do you think that Jonas would have won that fight even if it was 12-2s? Do you think she would have won any of the two if there were 2 more rounds?
I don't know. I never seen the fight, so I can't really kind of properly comment on it.
I just can't. I mean, she was puffing far more than Michaela was at the end.
Well, there you go. So then, if it was 12 threes, surely then by the 9th or 10th round,
that would have separated them.
Exactly.
And we wouldn't be having this argument.
Exactly, and then it would probably separate the fact that Mayer was the better fighter. She stopped the lassie possibly, and then she moves on. Clearly, nobody's did that. We've got a dispute here about bloody scorecards again.
Well, we do like an argument and a debate on here.
And she looks great at the weight.
Scorecards again, though. The British scorecard again, though, mate. You know what I'm saying?
Mm. She looks great at the weight, Matty. I thought so too, man. I do like a women's weigh-in. Not so much the fights, but the weigh-ins are quite entertaining.
Yeah, fantastic. She looked good not only in the ring, but out of the ring as well. Yeah, you got to love some Michaela.
Yeah, Ray says whatever about the result robberies, etc. One fact is you wouldn't kick Mayer out of the nest on a cold winter's night. It's a cold winter's night tonight, Michaela. She's in the UK. Just saying, Ray. Just saying. Des has queued me up here, Ozzy, for my next point perfectly, as he tends to do so. He says, hard fight to score. Close rounds have to go one way, which explains a 4 or 5 round swing. Michaela Mayer had energy and was aggressive. The slower pace of women's boxing flatters counter-punchers. Close fight. Does Mayer start too slowly for 10-2s, Ozzy? Did that slow start ultimately cost her in the end here?
for me, it shouldn't have. For me, she was a clear winner. I had it 7-3. I think being harsh, you'd go 6-4. I had it I'm pretty sure I had it even after 4 rounds. So you can argue, did she start slow? But actually, I had it to a piece after 4. So, it's not as if she's 4-0 down and then she's really having to play catch up. But her style probably does lend a bit to a longer format in terms of she benefit from 12 rounds. But I just don't see how Jonas was awarded that fight last night. I thought she was ultimately battered, bruised, and bullied, particularly in the second half of the fight. And Mayer looked the puncher in there, if anything. And I agree, she's not the biggest of punchers at all, and she lacks that bit of pop to really put a dent in any opponent. But Jonas was beaten up. She had busted eyes. She was feeling those body shots, and I've got to admit, I obviously we had the Sky commentary, so I wasn't aware what Timothy Bradley said. But Mayer's not like it's a bit different women's boxing in a sense of if it was just a standard challenger, they obviously wouldn't be getting any sort of like rematch clause. But I actually spoke to Michaela Mayer when I was in Las Vegas because her fella used to play for the Raiders, and she said she understands that her market is in the UK. There's a lot of fighters that are at weight, and she knows she needs to travel. But at the same time, she does bring a name. She's an ex-world champion, and she's incredibly talented as well. So I would be looking at some sort of deal, or yet without a doubt a rematch clause, and it makes sense to make it next. I saw Top Rank come out last night saying, "Oh, we want the rematch, etc." I'll tell you what, put your fingers in your pocket, dig deep, and take Jonas over to America if you want to be like that, because Mayer has boxed over here for I think the last 4 fights. She's boxed on BT cards, Sky. Don't think she's done the zone. If you want the rematch, take Jonas over, because Jonas is very much probably this is her last year, I think. So it'll be whatever pays the biggest, and if they can put the dough on to put it in America, then do that. But I thought the 97-93 card to Mayer was fine, absolutely fine. I've seen people score it 98-92 to Mayer. I've seen 96-94. I thought it was a bit. I think the American judge did score it in favour of Tasha Jonas, but I think, to be honest, at times, and I've said it before about ringside judging, the crowd is very pro Jonas, and no matter what, you're going to be swayed by reactions, etc. Ringside
sounded like
stuff.
a very young, screechy crowd as well. Like a lot of
it was,
isn't it?
yeah, it was, yeah. And for me, it was just. It's not a robbery in a sense of, because if you're scoring at 96-94, it's hard to say it's a robbery when it's like that. It's not as if everybody at 98-92 and she was robbed. Then you are talking that. But whilst it wasn't a robbery for me personally, I just thought Mayer was a convincing and clear winner. Jonas had her success early and never capitalised on that whatsoever. And it's tough for Mayer that you can argue that she should be undefeated, really. I had her beating Alicia Baumgardner, which I thought was a closer fight than the Jonas fight,
100%.
But you can argue that Mayer should be undefeated. I thought she beat Baumgardner, albeit by a round or two. But I thought last night's performance was very convincing. I thought she did look good at the weight. It's a bit weird in that you've seen the women like jump up, you're not talking 10, 12 pounds in the space of, like a year, but they're going to do that for the fights. But Mayer carried her weight up there, no problem. She looked absolutely fine. And as I say, she was the bully in there, and she has got skills and can box. But I think Matty said it right, that she realised that Jonas couldn't really hurt her, and she started to walk her down, particularly in rounds 8, 9, and 10. And I feel she can certainly feel hard done by. I thought she was a bit calm after when in a post-fight interview, and whereas you've seen other fighters absolutely raging, and I think that's what I'd want to see a bit more from her, actually saying that not just I thought I did enough, it's I did do enough. And I think for my final point is, you saw Jonas when just before the cards were read out, and that looked like a fighter that probably knew she fell short. She looked a bit dejected, looked a bit low, and felt like she'd been in a difficult fight. And for her to come out and say that Mayer's I think it was the top 2 boxers she's faced, I would assume that Katie Taylor is the other one. In,
I think
although
she said that,
it was take Katie Taylor. Yeah, I think Jonas, in all honesty, knew she probably got away with one last night, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with the next. But yeah, disappointing. And again, you end up in what was a good fight, actually. I'm not a big lover of women's fights, but I thought it was entertaining. But all in all, we finished the point of talking about judges' cards again and how they've ruined another opportunity for a fighter.
Yeah,
and you're right. That is the shame. Is that it was an entertaining fight. It was a truly well matched fight with some good shots landed. It was clearly the pro game. It wasn't amateur bullshit in there. Both were setting their feet and landing good shots, and it's overshadowed by just very questionable judging once again. And that's the shame, because stuff like that keeps it from women's boxing from elevating itself, because it's stuff like that doesn't no favors whatsoever. It's a shame.
Matty, just before we go on to the undercard, we'll close out with you being our resident female boxing expert. So Johnny says she was getting ready to do a retirement speech, and you felt a bit of that slipping in. I'm 39, I haven't got long left. She's kind of swung it around a little bit. She is 39. You imagine she'd be looking for a payday. I mean, I'm looking down the rankings here. I'm no expert. You can keep me right, but you could imagine if she was, say, 10 years younger, they maybe look to put her in against the Habazin or a McCaskill or something like that. But you'd imagine the Michaela Mayer rematch would be a decent money spinner. Lauren Price as well. She's at number 5 on BoxRec. Sandy Ryan is an all-UK affair, but she's over at DAZN at the moment. What would you do if you were boring Ben Shalom? Where would you take her next? Because it's probably going to be a last fight, or maybe second from last.
I think they're really looking at that Lauren Price fight, Steve. I just feel like that's the directions they're leaning. I just didn't get any hint that Jonas wanted another crack at Mayer after that. So I think that she's going to try to get that one, try to secure herself a good, mid kind of 6-figure payday, and then ride off into the sunset and enjoy her life. That's my hunch. It's just Lauren Price and then done, unless maybe she loses in a close fight, or maybe even wins in a close fight where people were entertained, in which case there might be enough interest for a rematch. But I think at the age of 39, you can definitely see that she is slowing down, and it's probably time to call it a day. But if she can get one more good payday out of it, especially considering you're not taking the damage in the women's side of the game that you are on the men's, I think she should try to get herself another payday. But if she wants to do the right thing, that payday will be a rematch with Michaela Mayer.
Do the right thing, Natasha, says Matty. Do the right thing. Do the right thing and hit the thumbs up if you're listening in the old chat there. Ozzy, onto the undercard, Tim Bradley again. He was referring to the rematch between Cullen and Zach Chelly at the end, and he said, I hope both of these guys have got day jobs, which was a bit of a disparaging comment from old Tim there. But Cullen came forward, hands held high. Chelly pretty much outboxed him. I thought the scorecards were quite close, to be honest. One thing I do want to pick up on, though, you feel free to talk about that as well. Carrie Sartingstall, 8 rounds. She's a feather duster woman, quite a close one against Furtado. I'm not interested in this fight whatsoever. I know that she, her and Lauren Price are the kind of friendly lesbians next door, and they fit the bill and all this type of stuff. But Mark
friendly
Jeffers,
lesbians next door.
Mark Jeffers against Jermaine Brown. Those are the two that probably should have been off the preview portion. A fight of some significance, English super middleweight title. Jeffers coming off the back of a decent win. Someone on Twitter suggested it was probably his sweary mouth, which keeps him off the TV, which I find a bit strange. I know these days they're all into that type of stuff, apologising that, but just don't interview him after the fight. Why on earth was him and Brown superseded by Artingstall against Furtado?
I have no idea. I criticised this last night when I found out that the Jeffers fight had been pushed back to 5:30, and I thought that is a competitive fight for an English title. But both lads are going to be coming to win, and you see it basically put on the live stream on YouTube with Carrie Artingstall boxing some random Brazilian, and Artingstall shit in terms of she's no appeal, she can't punch, she's boring. She's absolutely boring. She probably did no tickets last night. Honestly, if her fight had got cancelled last minute, in all honesty, apart from probably 15 people, which are probably family, a couple of friends, and Lauren Price, no one would have cared. Absolutely nobody would have cared if that fight had got canned. And that should not be taking up precious TV slots when you put in competitive fights on your stream. Jeffers is entertaining, came off that big win arguably an upset win in the eyes of many when he beat Shelley last time out on Sky as well. And then they take him off TV, and that's that. And do you know, if he's got a bit of a potty mouth, who cares? How many times in boxing do we see where people are media trained and you don't see any real characters because they're worried about what people say and people get offended, when actually the sport you enjoy is when you see real characters who've got proper stories. And if they come out and they're not the most perfectly media trained, who cares? Who actually cares? He's in there to put on a performance, and he boxed really well. I think he busted his hand after the second round, which is never ideal when your tools are broken. But I thought he boxed really well, and he's got, you know, Jennings brothers in his corner, Mike and Dave Jennings, and he's got a bright future. And I just can't understand the logic, aside from the fact that Sky have ploughed money into signing Artingstall and Lauren Price as a duo, and they're going to get him TV time. But look at your market. What is your target market? Viewers and people at the moment just do not care about those. If they're retired tomorrow, I'm not going to be any worse off from thinking, oh, what a blow to Sky that is. It's not. It genuinely isn't. And it's not a case of, you're being offensive to women's boxing. It's nothing to do with that. They are just boring to watch. Like last night, Raven Chapman boxed this Dos Santos Furtado last time out, and I actually like Chapman. I think she's quite entertaining. But what she does is she plants her feet and looks to tee off, and she has got a bit of a punch. And that Brazilian was relatively tough last night, but Chapman, pretty sure, dropped her. And just the 2-minute rounds do kill some of your more heavy-handed fighters in the sense of when they get on top, the bell rings. But for Artingstall, it was just bland. But that is where, if you're at the arena, go and get a couple of beers, have a chat with some people that are there, and when the final bell goes, you come back and then you take your seat and you get ready for the next fight.
Out, I call it, because you walk out for half an hour.
I'll
it
tell you what,
is, yeah.
She was I thought she was a little bit lucky on that one in two ways. One is that I think it was originally scheduled as a 10-round fight, and two, it was just a referee scored fight with that botched call in the first round. I thought she was kind of lucky to get away with the win in that one there, and over 10 rounds with 3 judges. I'm not too sure.
She might have lost. Yeah, she came out and said, she needed that sort of fight. Well, I'm thinking actually Chapman was levels above and has had, I think, similar amount of fights. And you're thinking if you're struggling with her, then you're not going to go very far anyway. So, no, I just don't understand it. I thought it was really poor scheduling, and we've always called for, more competitive fights to be on TV, and they usually produce the goods. And look, was there a stoppage in the Jeffers fight? No, but it was entertaining. It was, 2 solid operators at English level. One's going to go on a lot further. Jermaine Brown will still hover around that English level and will come again. I just don't understand the logic, and we'll come on to it after. But where you're seeing, obviously, Matchroom and Queensbury working a hell of a lot together, Boxer and Sky are being frozen out, and they're putting on trash like last night, and they're going to really, really struggle, and they don't help themselves with scheduling decisions like that. It's not just about the name, it's about the competitive nature of the fight, and they got it wrong for me. They really did.
Aussie sudden returning, says Alex Bellotti. He's back with a bang. Andy, just to switch over, I know you didn't see too much of the undercard, and Mark Jeffers' potty mouth put me in mind of some famous post-fight interviews. Obviously, we had the Ricardo Mayorga against Vernon Forrest when Larry Merchant offered him a cigarette and lit it up for him in the ring. I don't think you'd see that in boxer. We had Chris Arreola after Vitaly Klitschko beat him, I think it was. The F this, F that, and they told him off. And then David Diaz was one of the crackers, wasn't it, against after Manny Pacquiao? He was just so fast, Jim, so fucking fast. I thought him and Freddie were fucking hitting me in there.
But was it the Big Nips? Did you have another one recently when he says he can suck my motherfucking dick or something?
Oh, yeah, that's right. The judges could suck my motherfucking dick.
Big James Tony, I got milk, baby. I got milk.
Get Jeffers on, man, for goodness sake, Andy. That's what I say.
The Can Man speech, you got that one.
Oh, yeah, right.
That was good. You got Davis, just weeks after shooting, talking about
there's no safety on those Glock.
No safety on that Glock. That was.
And then Jim Gray doing what is it, the bomber tattoo on his back kind of speech.
Jim got offended, didn't he?
Yeah.
What else we got?
It's after the watershed, though, isn't it, Andy? Man, that's what I don't understand. I don't know why they're apologising for it. How many kids do they think are watching it? Who is actually? How many kids, let alone how many adults, are watching at the moment?
I was trying to think of one with Lennox Lewis, but then I remembered it didn't happen in the ring. It happened at a press conference. I think it might have been before the first Rackman fight, or maybe it might have been the rematch or whatever. And that I think they were kind of like trying to insinuate that Lewis was gay. And of course, Lewis is like, you send your sister or something like that up here, your wife, and I'll show you. I'll do it right here or whatever. It's like, fucking hell, man. Lewis going all in here.
Well, and I mean, you say that reminds me of Mike Tyson talking about eating Lennox Lewis's children, or his, just many interviews and press conferences, like I'm gonna fuck you till you love me, et cetera, et cetera. I know it's a modern era and shit like that, but in such a testosterone-driven and violent sport, I think worrying about the words they use afterwards is kind of excessive.
I know. You've got two guys there, man, who are licensed to legalize, potentially legally kill each other.
I was literally just going to say that we watch it for 12 rounds from where literally somebody could end up corpsed with a brutal KO and like absolutely brutally knocked out.
Like the guy in Misfits.
Then they're worried about what they say at the end of it, going, yeah, fucking hell, it was a great win. Oh, sorry about that. Sorry, you shouldn't be doing that. But then 10 minutes before that, you've got somebody absolutely done in the ring, which is arguably worse.
Behind them on oxygen while they're apologising.
Exactly, yeah. But they're worried about a few. Like I said, it just removes all natural characters and stuff like that. They're bothered about what they say. Box Nation used to be fantastic for it because ultimately it was no holds barred on there. It was, what you were doing, and they could say whatever they wanted. Then BT got involved, and again, they started apologising for everything. They need to realise, like you said, after the watershed, people do not care. They do not care about it. And look at the people down the pub, etc., that sort of stuff. You think people don't hear swear words or almost on a daily basis and say it, yet they think they're going to get offended because some boxer who's on a real high, if they've had a massive win, says a couple of words that they shouldn't do. It's absolute bollocks, basically. It's just people getting offended on behalf of other people who like to get offended.
Well, and you got to think, I understand, like, maybe they want to expand their audience and stuff, and that's why, they're focusing on
better fights, then.
That's why they're focusing on
don't
price.
Put Caris Artingstall on the TV.
Well, that's why they're focusing on price and that narrative and stuff, but they got to think about their audience. And, what is your average, bin man, a construction worker, dock worker, et cetera, the blue-collared folks who love boxing, especially in your part of the world, are they all utterly concerned about that? No, that's exactly how they talk. And I think it's one of those things where Chappelle hit the nail on the head. He's like, or DeBaby said something grotesque about gay people, but he also killed a guy. Why are we talking about what he said and not the fact that he killed a guy? Caitlyn Jenner, we're all worried about her genitalia. She ran a motherfucker over and killed them. Why are we not talking about the motherfucker she ran over and killed? What our priorities are out of line, and in our quest of making everybody included, we just have begun to just devalue life in favor of the words that hurt, and it's a very fucked up kind of place we're in. But anyway, enough of philosophy.
Yeah, I'll follow that, Matt. Follow that, Andy. Sorry, Ernest Hemingway.
Aye, mate.
Dead on, 100%.
Felt like I was getting talking to here by Dr. Zeus.
Chuckwoo's looking on. Sorry, Chuckwoo, you've had your yearly visits. Can't let you on again, man. Can't do that. But Boran BKK Sakon threw in a comment about the Mayer fight. He said, good fight, but I thought Mayer won that. Crisper, cleaner punches and combos, higher work rate, more accuracy, better on the inside. She been unlucky with decisions. Yeah, we were discussing that, absolutely. I'm not sure how many decisions there'll be next Thursday evening, Matty, over in Montreal Casino in Quebec. We were there recently for Beterbiev, wasn't it, I think? And we're back there again next Thursday evening. I might have caught you a bit blindside with this, but there's some decent fights on this, actually. Eric Bazinyan, the Armenian, who's closing in on a super middleweight title fight, going against Billy Facundo Godoy. He's 37 years of age from Argentina. He's been stopped 5 times. Mary Spencer's on the card.
Not a step up.
Steve Claggett. He's a decent, exciting fighter.
Steve!
Yep, good. Jean Arobio, Colombian puncher. Wilkins Mathieu, we saw him the other weekend on the Beterbiev undercard as well, getting him out nice and quickly. And Albert Ramirez, the guy Andy was mentioning as well beforehand, from Venezuela, 31-year-old southpaw puncher, 17-0, is going in against Artur Ziatdinov, who's 15-1. He's a Ukrainian Uzbek based in Canada. So decent little card there from the Canadians. Matthew, I know you like a bit of Thursday night fare.
No, that's fantastic. It doesn't sound like it's the most well-matched card for some of those fighters, but I like the fact if there's anything that you got to give them credit for, I think that's an eye of the tiger, I think, Steve.
Yep.
Yeah, like they seem, out of all the promoters going right now, they keep their fighters the most active, and I appreciate that. That's why a few of these throwaway fights, as the guys are working up the rankings, whatever, because you do expect them to come through it most likely, and then in 3 or 4 months, they'll probably have something more meaningful in front of them.
Andy, you have been keeping an eye on this Albert Ramirez anyway. He fought in Monaco, I think it was, recently. Got a close decision against Gilbert Castillo Rivera. I've seen him in action against that Brian Suarez, who fought Lyndon Arthur. He got knocked out in a round by Ramirez. He's one that you've been keeping an eye on anyway.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think he just needs that test now, really. I mean, he's early 30s now. Good amateur experience, has a knockout power. At a certain level, anyway. Just needs to get matched right. But he's a light heavyweight. No, sorry, he's a cruiserweight, isn't he?
Yep, cruiser.
Yeah, he just needs.
Well, Andy, I think he's been flitting between the two. He was up as high as 197 against Jacob Dixon, but before that, he's been around 178, 179.
Which is a wee bit of concern, actually, to be fair. Because, I mean, he's dropping 20 pounds at 31, 32 years of age.
187 early his career. I think he's keeping busy with cruiserweight fights, but I'd say he'll boil down to light heavy for the right opportunity.
Well, for the right opportunity, that might come at a cost as well. Just need to wait and see. But opportunity is a must. I'm assuming this fight that he's having next week is going to be at either a catch weight. Because I noticed his opponent's kind of like been fluctuating as well. But he's been fighting as high as 182, 185, that type of thing. Seen here earlier in his career, he's been fighting as high as 195. So just be interesting to see what he's going to be fighting at. But I just think the longer it goes with a meaningful fight, with that good habit of making weight, Venezuelan, again, right opportunity, but it's going to end up costing him, I think, at some point. So maybe he will sit at cruiserweight. But as Matty said as well, it's not really that well matched a card, to be fair. But it is a busy one, and as it says, if it's Eye of the Tiger, then they're pretty much the only promotion kind of going just now in Canada and that, so they are kind of active, to be fair, and I think they're the only ones that seem to have the TV dates and that as well. So,
yep, doing a good job over there. Eye of the Tiger Promotions. There is a show in Japan as well next week. Before we talked about that, Aussie, I know you haven't been with us for a while. Did you catch Beterbiev against Callum Smith last weekend by any chance? Beterbiev, he of the big head, has suddenly started knocking out people later on in his career, whereas he was a bit of a back foot bitch beforehand. Are you suspicious, Aussie?
Absolutely not. No, that was just a complete shit show after it. From where it was the Scouts Brigade again coming out and all saying, "Oh no, he's a cheat. He's this. He's that. It's not right. It's very suspicious." Yeah, the same people are defending Conor Benn, who has failed 2 drug tests. So make sense of that. But Beterbiev was excellent. Looked really, really good. And they're saying about, he's getting better with age, this and that. No, this is a guy that has actually remained relatively active. Unlike Callum Smith, who was just wasted his prime on the sideline, dicking around doing nothing. And then when he does have fights, they're against absolute no marks half the time, so he gets nothing from it. And he's finally come out and said that he probably suffered from inactivity. And I'm thinking, you are to blame for this. You can easily have tickovers against, necessarily substandard level, but lower level opposition if you're doing it to remain active to then go into bigger fights. But he chose not to, and then thought he was good enough to go over there. And I thought he looked poor, Smith. I thought he had one steady round, which was round 2. And aside from that, he kind of did what he did against Canelo, just sat on the ropes and just took shots. And ultimately, you can't do that against someone like Beterbiev, particularly someone who is as heavy-handed, and it became too much for him, and he beat him up, and he got him out of there. I thought it was the right stoppage. I thought it was a good stoppage, particularly from the corner getting involved as well. No issues with that. It wouldn't surprise me if it's the last time we see Callum Smith again. I don't really know where he's going to go. He ultimately feels that he always wants to be the best, even though for me he never has been the best. But I don't see where he's going to get to. For Beterbiev now, we have to see that Bivol fight next. There's nothing else in that division that we want to see. It has to be Bivol against Beterbiev. And that is one fight from where I don't mind if that goes to Saudi whatsoever. If that means that happens, I'm all for fights happening in Saudi. No issue with that whatsoever. Seems like Bivol and team have signed the contract there. So it's up to the Saudis to make that fight happen. There's absolutely no reason why it shouldn't. Beterbiev came out unscathed in that fight. So roll on the big undisputed fight, because it'll be a brilliant, brilliant fight, and one that I think Beterbiev will win. And will look good in as well. But I think the one thing that, for a guy that didn't fight, by the way, but off Callum Smith's performance, thought it owed real kudos to Anthony Yard, by the way, who, whilst he did get knocked out, and again, the corner stopped in, but I thought Yard really gave it a go against Beterbiev and had a lot more success than what Callum Smith did. And we've always spoken about how Yard has had substandard opposition and has kind of never done the learning and the progression that we've wanted to see. But in his two big fights from against Kovalev, less so, where it was evident he did lack experience. He obviously had that stinker against Lyndon Arthur, but then went into the Beterbiev fight. I think, in all honesty, we all probably said that it'd be 1-2 rounds max, and Yard didn't stand a chance, but he went toe-to-toe with Beterbiev. I think he did not bust him up, but buzzed him a couple of times, landed some big shots, and did have success and was winning rounds as well. So that is evident off, particularly in future fights as well, that Yard is probably legit. And I'm not saying he is world level, but he's certainly not far off, and he put in a far better display than Callum Smith did against Beterbiev. He didn't look overawed, and whilst he did lose, he boxed a hell of a better fight, and we will see him again. Whereas with Smith, I think his career's done, and you look back on it, and he's a fighter that, not saying he's underachieved, but he's never ever sustained that momentum from where you want to be seeing him. You want to be seeing him again. He's a fighter that has boxed with Matchroom, and he's had 2 world title opportunities through other promoters, by the way, in Top Rank and Wasserman in the World Boxing Super Series. And again, yeah, it's very much been a Callum's the best 168. He's going to do this at 175, but he's never really shown it.
I'm curious, I'm thinking that maybe, honestly, Yard's probably in the best 4 goes that anyone has given Beterbiev in his career. I mean, I think number one, you got to give to Vosdick. And then I think
Callum Johnson knocked him over, didn't he?
Yep. Marcus Brown, I think, kind of befuddled him at times. And then Yard, I mean, just kind of went in there swinging with him and lasted longer than Johnson did. He might have not scored the knockdown, but I think of those 4, you got to say they're they probably gave him the best go of it. Again, Vosdick the best, but the fact that that's how you're discussing it is this guy ended up going 11 rounds with Artur Beterbiev. I mean, he left the sport for 4 years afterwards, but he went 11 rounds with him.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, Matty, as well, because I know he got dropped early in his career, but that was by that Jeff Page. He was a bit of a great white hype at one point. He dropped him with a jab, and Beterbiev proceeded to come out the next round and beat the shit out of him. So I don't think that bothered him too much. I think that's a fair list coming off with.
I think when you kind of think back at it, of what's the jab that Jeff Page regrets landing most in his career, that one, it's probably not a big deal.
Oh, Jeff, where are you? Chris Butler says, it's so suspicious that Callum didn't fight in nearly 2 years, then got stopped by the biggest punch in world boxing history. Yeah, it is quite suspicious, isn't it? John Trounson says, Beterbiev's got one of those bearskin rugs in front of his fireplace. It's not even dead, it just daren't move. Quite a good one from John Trounson there. A little joke there. But a few lols for you, Jason Chukwu, joining us on this Sunday evening. Is it 2 weeks in a row or 2 out of 3 or something?
No,
you're back with?
It's a record. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, yeah. You must have nothing better to do with yourself.
I agree with Ozzy. Yard did better than Callum Johnson, but I thought, I don't know, maybe it's because when I was scoring the fight, I only really gave Yard 1 round, but he gave it a go. But out of the Brits, Callum Johnson did the best. But I just want to talk briefly about the card yesterday. Obviously, I missed it because I was out, not because of a shift. Just I was out doing whatever, innit? You know, I was meeting up with some girl, whatever. It's irrelevant. But the point is, like, Eddie Hearn's missed on Sky, like the presentation. Like, I don't know. Ben Shalom's a bit like me, innit? Like, he's a bit drowsy. Like, you know, it's not Eddie Hearn, because obviously I was catching up on the cars last week that I missed from 1920. Like, one thing you got to say about Eddie Hearn is he gives energy. I mean, like, with Hearn, Okoli was a world champion, and then without Hearn, he's fighting in his opponent's backyard. If Okoli was still with Eddie Hearn, there's no way he would have fought in against Chris Billiam-Smith in Bournemouth when he's got the belt. Come on, man. That's Eddie Hearn would have patterned him with like brown paper notes, like would have patterned the judges and that. It's just not the same without Hearn, like personally, the presentation. But that's all I really wanted to say in it. Like, I missed the Jonas fight, but all I have to say is like Mayer, like, she didn't even look. I know you should never ever judge it on faces, but like, I mean, Natasha Jonas looked like she got beat up by Chris Brown, innit? And like Mayer just looked like she slipped and fell, innit? But like you said, you
Do
can
you
never
think Jonas
judge
has a
fights
loser's face? Do you think Jonas has a
Oh
loser's face?
yeah, definitely win it. But you can't judge fights on faces, innit? So you know what I mean.
And what
like,
about Shalom? Shalom lacks your charisma, then basically.
Yeah, like he's you know, he's laid back, innit? You know, but I don't. It's like he's not Hearn. You know, everyone can't be Hearn. Like, you know, Hearn made us believe that Lewis Ritson was going to be world champion. That's how great Hearn is. You know, he's like, he can make shit happen. You know, he's a bit like Dr. Dre. He can make shit happen. Like, you know, he can hypnotize people. I don't know. You know, he's a bit like, he's a bit. Can you produce some magic in it? But that's what I really wanted to say in it. Just like the
Jason,
energy,
I've got a question for you, mate.
Yeah.
Did you just come on here to covertly tell us you got your hole last night?
The what?
Did you just come on here to covertly tell us you got your hole last night?
You got a woman last night, Jason? That's what you slipped in, thinking we wouldn't notice. You were bragging. Humble brag from you.
No. It's not.
Top shagger.
No, I'm not.
That's not a woman.
No, I'm not saying no. I'm just saying that. Don't worry. Like,
well, we're not judging you, brother. We're not judging you.
No.
Secret's safe with us. Nobody listens to the
show.
Anyway.
No, I know. Shout out to Rainbow Step, but you know,
it's the Asylum after all, mate. You know.
I wasn't saying that, innit? But you know, I ain't got no problem with them, innit? Like, I watch funny stuff, but in real life, I'm not really on that, innit? But, yeah. But,
what about the hard drive? How's the hard drive doing these days?
It's still the same. Like, that's the thing. I had to come back home to watch Sky Go at the end because I couldn't watch it on my phone because it's still a bit messed up. But yeah, it's not getting into it right now, innit? It's still the same, innit? I'll be real.
Wait, give us something else before we move you on. Then what else are you looking forward to?
No, it was literally just about the card. Yes, no, I'm looking forward to Buatsi Aziz, but it's like it's crazy. Buatsi's still British level all this time. Like, he still hasn't. Like, it's Yards fought Beterbiev, Kovalev. Like, he's tried to push on. Obviously, he's lost, but like, he's attempted. Like, Buatsi, who we thought was the Olympic child, and all of that, he hasn't really done anything. Even though he's left Hearn as well, like, it's still like.
Well, why did he leave Hearn for? That was a mistake.
Because it's Sky Sports, isn't it? Everyone's thinking Sky Sports is where it's at, but they don't realise, like, Hearn, even though he chats a lot of shit, like, there's like, I don't know, he makes shit interesting. You know what I mean? I don't know how, but
yeah, but Eddie's had to go and sell his arse to the Saudis with Uncle Frank allegedly, and make some agreements and that, you know. So
yeah,
Eddie's a busted flush as well.
Yeah, it's true that, but it's like I don't know. Like, it's just like it's not the presentation. Because think about it, like, I've got Sky Sports at my house, in my family house, but like I haven't been watching boxer like I was watching Matchroom. I don't know why. I don't think they're putting on as much cards, but it just hasn't been like. Just yesterday was probably like the first Matchroom card I've probably seen since probably Eubank Williams. Like, I don't know, like, boxing. I don't know why, but it just seems like since Matchroom's left, it's like, is boxing still on Sky Sports? It's like, maybe I don't know. Maybe it's because I don't have the zone and like. It's weird, isn't it? Like, but that's what I just wanted to talk about yesterday, isn't it? But,
here, Take Aim says, what do you think about Misfits, Jason? Misfits boxing?
Or the one, the El Brook, innit? I've never really watched it because that's a stream thing, innit? But obviously the girls, they do what they describe it well, you know. I saw El Brook in Hackney Wick, the same place I saw Take Ames like 4 months ago. You know, she looks good in the flesh, innit? But I should have asked her about ideas, innit? Because I'm always looking to go to the Blue Movies, right? But I'm teasing with it, but I've got a lot of ideas, but like, you know what I mean? I should have sat in person.
That Logan Paul wannabe who had the magnificent hair. That knockout was amazing, man. And that referee was dangerous as society. He should have been locked up. I don't know what his name was.
I think I met him at the Mayweather Deji.
Was that not Logan Paul? I thought that was Logan Paul.
No, it's the other guy.
He's got the excuse
Right.
the hair could have got in his eyes, though, I suppose, for getting knocked out.
I think it's the same guy. He knocked out a rapper called Swarms, isn't it? I think it's that same guy, innit?
Oh.
But yeah, obviously, I just wanted to come and talk about yesterday, innit? So, and if you don't want to cut me off now, I'm good, innit? So,
See the
but yeah, I didn't see him misfit.
See the referee in that fight. We need him in the
Yeah.
we need him in the British ring, by the way. Sack off Ian John Lewis and your ilks, because
have you not talked about the Zach Jelly card?
Yeah, that is the Jonas card, isn't it?
I mean, no, yeah, the Zach Jelly fight. Did you not talk about? I missed it, innit? But
Go on, go ahead. You tell us what you think.
I didn't see it, but I'm just glad Zach Jelly won, innit? Because I thought he got robbed against that Welsh guy a couple of years ago, innit? And
redemption
obviously he beat Sadiq. He beat Sadiq, and obviously I like Sadiq from Nigeria, innit? But he's retired now. But yeah, I always like Zach Jelly, innit? His dad talks a lot of shit, but you know, it's part of the game, innit? But it's good that he won, innit? Because apparently he got shafted in the first fight, but yeah.
Right, Jason, that'll do. Thanks for coming on, and thanks for being in the chat nice and early as well. Appreciate you.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
Be well, Jason.
Bye. Jason Chucker, everybody. Enjoy it. We're offering him a home on this Sunday evening. He's doing his best.
We gave him a reason to stay awake. I'm happy.
Exactly. Reason to live. Andy, here's some reasons to live for you. Next Tuesday evening in Osaka, we've got Artem Delakian. I think is he Ukrainian? He's doing the rounds, isn't he? He was in the Wembley Arena last time I saw him fighting. He's going in against Seijo Yuri Akwai. And then we've got Kenshiro against Carlos Canizales. That sounds like a 1980s name, doesn't it? That Carlos Canizales. He's from Venezuela. He's 30 years of age. I liked Kenshiro, actually, Andy. I know he had the losses to Yabuki, wasn't it? And then he avenged it. And he's a really tight little fighter.
He's a good fighter, mate, to be fair. Come back for the loss pretty well. Took Butler apart. And the Kaiguchi win as well was a solid win. It was a unification. Didn't often get those type of fights in Japan often, especially an old Japanese affair. So it was good to see that. Done him in, 7-8 rounds, I think it was. The Canizales character, I think I've seen him. I'm trying to remember who I've seen him fight. It was a kind of later fight. I think it was one of the kind of Su Kimura fights or whatever. And that. So again, depending on what he's got left, I think Kenshiro should look pretty well when doing it. I'll probably suspect maybe a late round stoppage. Know nothing about the guy that Dalakan's fighting. Dalakan, I just checked there. He
opened up as a favorite against Dalakan, and I'm pissed off I didn't jump on Dalakan.
Well, I've noticed he's held that belt for since 2018. And I don't know how many defenses he's made. It's single digits anyway, still at this point.
To be fair, he lost some time due to a war and shit like that. He has a better excuse.
No, man. Fucking
That's no excuse.
The war started donks ago, man. But who else we got? Oh, I see that. Is it tension?
Yeah, tension. He fought Floyd, didn't he?
Aye. That's the one that Floyd iced up.
Made him cry. That's right.
He's crying. Aye. I don't know what it was. I think he maybe touched Floyd once with a shot, and he didn't get the message really, and he wasn't pulling the shot. So Floyd just said, "Fuck this shit," right to just stop.
Here's one for you, Andy. They're saying that they're going to try and build that tension up. Apparently, he's a real big YouTube star or whatever to maybe fight Inoue at some point.
He's a pretty sharp little boxer. Like that Floyd defeat, and it made him want to learn boxing instead of kickboxing. He's looked pretty sharp.
I mean, I need to check his debutant guy that he fought, but certainly the last two fighters that he fought, I'm sure they had winning records at that point, or at least a couple of fights coming in there. They'd been on winning streaks. So he's taking it seriously enough. Now, I know he was into. What else was into? Was it Bare Knuckle or KPB Pro, or whatever it was? I forget what it was at this point. But he has been into your combat scene and that. I forget what sport it was in. Was it Risen?
Yeah, I think it was.
Risen Prime or something. I forget what it was again, but some other kind of combat sport in Japan. He was champion of for donks, and that Floyd fight, as you said, mate, it was big money at the time. It was certainly kind of getting a bit of publicity at that time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So we've got Kenshiro there on the Tuesday, and we have Delakian on the same card, Matty.
Yeah, I want to talk about this card, man.
I was coming to you next.
Fantastic. I'm glad you like Kenshiro, Steve.
I do.
But I don't think you passionately love him the way that some of us have grown to love Kenshiro Terashi in recent years.
He has the style of a kangaroo, I think, the way he sort of bounces up and down with his little hands out and all.
He moves, he's always moving. He's got a funky rhythm to him. He puts his punches together well. He's a great come forward fighter. He knows how to extend his jab very well, a la Golovkin, and sets up his shots. Rarely in anything less than an entertaining fight. And he is in a quest to try to consolidate all the belts at 108 pounds right now. And I'm looking forward to seeing if he can accomplish that. But Canizales, he's a decent fighter, but if you go back, he's had a couple of rough outings. He also tends to cut pretty badly. He had a fight against Esteban Bermudez, and he just got the shit smacked out of him in that fight. Bermudez just did not look like a light flyweight in that fight, and he just took out Canizales harshly in 6 rounds. Getting a little bit less than even money on Tarashi by knockout. Haven't seen anything come out for rounds 7 through 12. That's a curious bet for me because it's kind of what I'm feeling on this one, either by a cut or by stopping him. Canizales really can't fight too much going backwards. So I think Tarashi has this. But if there are some moments when Canizales is able to move Tarashi backwards, he's going to give him some trouble. And I do expect there to be a few decent exchanges in this fight. And I'll be waking up and doing the British thing and watching this early in the morning on Tuesday.
Ooh.
He will be, to be honest, the guy's travelled on the road a number of times and that as well, to be fair, Canizales. So, we can do the business on the road, but I just think Taraji's now at that point where he's entering his prime. Could be decent, though. Could be decent. Just try to remember, I'm just looking at some of the names here on his record. That Geigen Lopez got knocked out off
Canizales.
No, he got knocked out off David Jimenez, who Dalacan beat in his last fight on points. And
good fighter.
That Daniel Matillion, the Cuban that Canizales beat in a technical decision, was actually on the verge of getting a world title fight. I think he was on some of Eddie's cards and that. Decent Cuban counter puncher and that, but one of the fighters is just isn't going to do enough because of his style, unfortunately. But he was coming up because he had a win over that Yubuku as well.
Yeah.
Like I said, it should be a fairly interesting fight. I think Tarashi probably has this, but Gonzalez is definitely there to swing. And that fight against Bermudez, he just looked massively outsized in that one. I think like the pushing him back is going to play, but I don't think it's just going to be just a heavy-handed beat down like that because Bermudez looked like he was 1, 2, 3 weight classes above him.
Yep. Big fan of Japanese fight card myself. Shout out to all the Patreons over at patreon.com/Boxing Asylum. They'll hopefully be able to watch it with me next Wednesday morning. Just to remind you all, you're listening to episode 556 of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. Andy's here, Matt is here, Ozzy's here with me. No sign of rapping Rob Kelly yet. I'm going to need that Misfits referee to get me through the evening at this rate. The weather is picking up outside. We're going to try and fly through it as best as we can. Munguia-Ryder very shortly. Bellew, Crocker over in Belfast. I'll be there. Dominic's coming with me as well. Looking forward to that one next Saturday. We'll be previewing those cards as well as the 5 versus 5 in Saudi Arabia. Let's have a look through the chat and see who's hanging around there. Harvey Price Boxing has returned. Jason Chucker has been on the call. He's in the chat now. Mark Stanton's there. Michael Thompson, Alex Bellotti, Ray, M. Lithgow 1983, the Dr. FMG, AP, one of the regulars floating about. Take Ames as well from Seconds Out Boxing. Who else have we got? Just scrolling on up and seeing if there's any new names. MB, might have already mentioned him. Might as well do it twice. Johnny's there as well. So is Chris Butler. Des was in earlier as well. And I think that is everybody for now. Right, Ozzy, let's start with you. Get on to the big event over in Arizona next weekend. The undercard, feel free to talk about it if you wish. It's a good card, actually, this, as the Golden Boy ones tend to be. Darius Fulgham, bit of a puncher, 9-0, going in against Alantes Fox. Nice little step up for him. We've got Alan Picasso, paint a nice picture, 26-0-1. He's fighting Eric Ruiz. He's meant to be a decent fighter. Is that Picasso? Gabriela Fundora is fighting former amateur star, now getting on in years, Christina Cruz for the IBF World Flyweight title. Oscar Collazo is making the 2nd or 3rd defense, I think, of his WBO minimum weight title against Reneris Gutierrez. And in the main event, Jaime Munguia, 42-0 against John Ryder, 32-6. WBC silver super middleweight title is on the line. Ozzy, feel free to talk about whatever you want. Can John go over to Mexico It's not Mexico, it's Arizona, actually. Against the Mexican, though, and do the job.
Ole!
I think he can. It's tough because you're always slightly biased to somebody who you know when you get on with. But yeah, I really do believe. I think he can go over there and do that. I think if you look at essentially, realistically, bar the Canelo fight, since he's moved up to super middleweight, John has not really looked out of his depth against anybody. For me, I think we all agreed when he lost in inverted commas against Callum Smith that he won that fight. And then he's had wins against Danny Jacobs, which I did think was favourable. I had Jacobs winning, but at the same time, he wasn't outclassed by Danny Jacobs. He beat up Zach Parker, and then look, he gave it a go against Canelo. Fell short, but there was no shame in that. He went over there. He didn't just cover up and just decide to basically try and coast. He did try and ultimately was outclassed, but Canelo's done that to everybody. I think he'd be going over to Arizona. He's had perfect notice. He's wanted this fight for a long time. This has been in play for probably 3 or 4 years, and at times they've gone elsewhere. Golden Boy, they've looked at different routes, different opponents, some really poor opponents. I think when he boxed that Argentinian guy Munguia, they were looking at Ryder then, and they opted for that Argentinian guy. And then he's obviously beaten people like Jimmy Kelly, Gabe Rosado. It's a bit of a random resume that he's got, Munguia, in a sense of it's kind of packed with a lot of average rubbish fighters, basically. But he's got, he's 42-0. 33 stoppages, but I do believe that Ryder can make it difficult for him. I think it's going to be tough to get a decision on the cards. I don't see him stopping him. I'd be amazed if so, and I think that would be a bigger shock more than anything if he was to get Munguia out of there. But I do think he's got a difficult style for anybody. He's boxed bigger guys before. I liken it to Smith, and it was he was in his element in a way. And he kind of comes into his element against the bigger opponent because he can get up close, get inside on him, rough him up a little bit, and he does get his shots off well. The one thing I don't think he can afford to do is start slowly. I think if he gives rounds away, he is going to be facing an uphill battle, and I'm not a fan of the tactics at times from where we'll start off slow and warm into it, particularly when you've not got an equaliser where if someone like Deontay Wilder does it pre-Joseph Parker, you would back him that he can lose the first 10 rounds and can still iron out his opponent. Don't believe John will get Munguia out of there. We've not really seen Munguia, from my memory, ever really, buzzed or dropped. That Dervyachenko fight last time, when was that? Was it middle of last year, something like that? Incredibly close fight. Dervyachenko boxed.
Sergey hurt him too, and he
short,
squat guy.
Actually, you're right. Yeah,
and they tried to change the rounds to 10 rounds at the last minute as well.
Yeah, and that didn't happen. And ultimately, you can argue that had Dervyachenko stayed on his feet in that 12th, he might well have been coming away with potentially a draw or even a win. But no, I think it's a really good fight, by the way. Really, really good fight. And it's one from where John, realistically, if you look at everything in terms of what a fighter has had to do, he's not being in the away corner is nothing new to him. Traveling abroad is nothing to him, and actually going to boxing in front of, for example, pro-Mexican crowds or one from where they'll all be for the home fighter is absolutely nothing new to him as well. So he's got that experience. He's got the ability still, and I don't think he's one from where, unless he's grown really old overnight, he's already out in the US already, so he's acclimatizing incredibly well. It's not going to be arriving late and he's going to be suffering from jet lag. He's out there, he's done camps in the US before. For me, he's got every chance he can go and do that, and he can take a lot from that Dervyachenko performance from where, as we say, a smaller guy who was able to hurt Munguia. I think John's got the ability to do that as well, but I do think it'll be close. I don't think he'll get him out of there, but without a doubt, do I think he can win? Yeah.
Well, he's paying just a little bit more than 2-1. It's not outside, but Munguia by knockout is also paying the same as Ryder to win. So I don't know. Interesting.
Yep, Andy, it is an interesting fight. What about Munguia changing trainers? Well, I think Eric Morales was training him before, and he's gone behind the scenes in an advisory capacity, so he'll still be in the corner. He's still there. Freddie Roach has been brought in now, a more offensively minded coach. We don't know. He's a bit of a hired hand these days, isn't he? A mercenary. What's he going to be able to do with Munguia in this short space of time? Will it even make any impact?
I don't know, mate, to be fair. I think Munguia is what he is at this point, to be fair. I think he's also, as I say, prime years are probably past him. He's up in a lot of weight now as well. I think he's just trying to kind of catch up with a lot of money, possibly. But I agree with what Ozzy was saying. If Ryder starts quick, he doesn't want to be chasing the fight. But also, as well as I think if he goes for him, I think we could end up getting a really good fight, a good shootout, possibly. If John's going to go for him, especially early doors, it will force Munguia to stand and hold his feet as well and probably try and bang it out. Which, to be fair, I know John's maybe the class is the biggest puncher in that, but I think at times he's probably going to have to go and do it because any close rounds, I would personally would suggest it's going to go to Munguia without doubt. Some questionable scoring, some previous fights in the past, but it's a hard ask, but at the same time, as John's gathered a lot of experience at the traveling to America, fighting on the big stages and that as well. So he should be well up for it. He should be well experienced, and he'll know himself personally in that as well. As it's his last opportunity, really. If he loses this, he's going to follow the title picture, and it's going to have to be another build back into the scene again. So he's going to win. By any means, but as I say, he can't afford a slow start and allow this to kind of be close, get into the 10th, possibly 11th round. Ideally, he wants to get a stoppage, possibly. And to be fair, it'll be interesting to see the size difference between the two guys, because I really don't know if Munguia is a bona fide, legit 168 fighter. It just seems like he's got a lot of fat on the body there. He just doesn't need to strip it off. John looks more natural, so there could be that too as well.
Matty, I'm not going to patronise Ryder by caveating this and saying, I hope I'm wrong, etc., etc. I just have to say what my gut feeling is. And I just think Ryder, great fighter. He's had a long, hard career. I just wonder whether this might be the tip-over point to the Canelo fight. He showed a lot of balls. Didn't he have his nose broke or something? Or he was cut? Or I can't remember the fight. But, he hung in there with a big puncher like Canelo. It felt like could have been a bit of a swan song. Maybe he's worn out. That could have been the high point. I know only Nick Blackwell has beat him inside the distance. I think it was by accumulation, and he's a tough guy. But I just think with those high hands, Munguia gets a bit of momentum, hits him to the body. Maybe it could be a body shot. I just have a feeling that Munguia is going to stop him.
Man, Steve, I'm a little bit torn on how this fight might go. And let me say to John Ryder, I mean, you got to give him some credit. You can't say that it's not that if Munguia wins it, it's because John Ryder didn't want it. I mean, he got the Canelo payday. He could have rode off into the sunset, no problem, and nobody would have faulted him for it. That's the kind of money that you can invest in, and you've got a life for your family, no problem. But sometimes in life, we just get bit in the ass when we go a step too far. And you think about his path there. It was a hard path. He got the wrong end of a bunch of stuff. And then he ended up being on the right end of what a lot of people thought was the wrong decision against Jacobs, which also ultimately landed him the Canelo fight. So given that, that great fortune he had that got him that payday, maybe it was time to call it a day. Maybe this is the step too far. A few years ago, Ryder would have been a hell of a good test for Jaime Munguia. And I think that Jaime's not getting a ton better, but he has gotten better. And I think a few years ago, I think, Ryder just might have given him his comeuppance, especially considering what Derevyanchenko did as a smaller fighter.
I agree with that.
Coming behind a high guard with some weird over-the-top angles. I think there's a lot to say there, but I just kind of like you, I get the hunch that this is one fight too many for our friend of the pod, Mr. John Ryder. And unfortunately for that, I think I'm going to have to go by Munguia late. And I think it's going to be I don't think it's going to be a single shot or anything. I think it's just going to be an accumulation of punches. I think 168 is a weight where Munguia is going to have a good motor, and he's not going to be drawn, because we've saw him at 154 originally doing well there, kind of got worn, and 160 he did okay, but it still wasn't quite there. I know it's saying a lot like, oh, but this will be the weight class. He's a big guy. I think this will be a much more functional weight class for him, at least against somebody like Ryder. But I do think there are some parallels, if he does not improve them, with Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., Steve, who, if you also remember, worked under the tutelage of Freddie Roach. And he might end up with an Andrew Fonfara moment coming here soon, but I just don't think it's going to be against John Ryder, unfortunately.
If Bellotti's opponents drag Sebastian Zabic out of retirement, Matty, we'll start ringing the bells.
There you go.
Alex Bellotti summed it up. He said, Styles make fights, Ryder will walk into too many shots and be open for uppercuts and body shots. I think something like that. The body shots, the uppercut on the nose. He's very enthusiastic, Munguia. Once he gets a bit of momentum, he's hard to keep you off him, and I could just see that overwhelm and that accumulation. But then that's on me at the end of the day. I make bad predictions all the time.
Stephen, I think it'd be a hard fight to make, given promotional this, that, and the other. But I really think that Benavidez against Munguia would be a freaking cracking fight while it lasted. But I think that's where Munguia would definitely take that L for sure.
Yeah. Well, they tried to put him in Golovkin all those years ago, didn't they? Which, in hindsight, turns out it was a bit of a clout-chasing move, attaching his name to Golovkin, knowing rightly that fight was never going to get made, because Golovkin would have ended his career at that point.
Yeah, there was enough in Golovkin, and he was a young fighter at that point in time. Again, I think the call on it was he hadn't yet fought an opponent who was ranked inside their top 20, so they couldn't feasibly put him in there with Golovkin, and that might have saved him. We might not be talking about Jaime Munguia today, where that fight accepted, especially because he was at 154 at the time, so that would have been jumping a weight class as an unranked fighter. So yeah, that would have been a hard one.
Yeah, the Dr. FMG is right. Benavidez too big. Sorry, Matty, I'm not giving you much of a break here in between rounds, but did you manage to catch the Pro Box card on Wednesday? I actually watched it this week for once. Luis Feliciano, a 5-time Puerto Rican national amateur champion, 17-0, got iced by Mike Juan Williams, who was also undefeated, got dropped about 3 or 4 times in the end, heavily as well. Freudis Rojas got a points win. He's a bit of a puncher over Christian Baez, and then Gomez defeated Barrero. Did you catch anything of it?
Yeah, I caught the very end of the fight when Gomez stopped Barrero, so I can't say much about that one. And then, God, remind me of the tall fighter's name.
The main event, was it Williams against Feliciano, or was it Freudis Rojas?
Freudis Rojas, yeah, because he's really tall for the weight. He's like a 6-foot welterweight.
Yes, 6'2". Yeah,
and I think that he's kind of hit a ceiling. He came into that fight, I believe, 12-0 with 11 knockouts, and that fight, those scorecards weren't fair. They were incredibly wide. I think that his opponent did far better than that. I think a draw should have been in play, not a wide victory for Rojas there. And he's one of them tall guys where you think he's going to get found out. And he's got a lot of similarities to the way he carries his hands to Fundora, and he doesn't have near the offensive tools that Fundora has. So I think he'll be meeting his end sooner rather than later in the ring as far as getting stopped. You just kind of see a big left hook taking him out, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
And as far as the main event, Feliciano against Williams, that was a fight that I definitely got wrong in the prediction league. I don't know what direction you went there, Esteban, but I was absolutely surprised. Both of these guys came in with non-punching resumes, and Mike Juan Williams just kept finding Feliciano in the middle of these exchanges, just too fast, too accurate. But it was a damn entertaining fight, and what I thought was another quality card from Pro Box. They continue to deliver, and they're definitely going to be filling a space that I think Showbox left behind.
Well, they're filling a community space as well, because apparently the guy who runs Pro Box TV is some kind of multimillionaire, and he also owns the the venue that they fight at, the White Sands Event Centre, Plant City, which is also doubles as a drug rehabilitation centre.
Nothing weird going on there.
A few crackheads wandering into front row.
No, that's a great thing. Is you get these guys addicted to steroids during their careers, and then when you're done with them, you get them in there for rehab. It's a hell of a scheme going on there. I like it. Very evil genius, but he's putting on good fights. So much like His Excellency, we'll just let him get away with this shit.
Yep, shout out to His Excellency.
No,
No,
I can't say that. We'll end up getting sued. Nobody's doing any weird shit.
Right, let's go over to Belfast as we promised earlier. We've got Lewis Crocker in the main event. We'll go to you, Ozzy, actually. So I'm looking at the undercard here. What am I going to be served up? Oh, Connor Walker there, I think, didn't he? He's from Wolverhampton. Might have a chat with him afterwards. But the Wolverhampton scene, we've got Giorgio Vizioli, Emmanuel Buttigieg. He looks decent. Siobhan Clark against Tommy McCarthy. Tommy keeps on getting the opportunities. Paddy Donovan against Williams Andres Herrera. You would imagine they're looking to set up the winner of the main event, which will probably be Crocker against Paddy Donovan. That'll be a cracking all-Irish affair if they can get that one made. As for the main event itself, Jose Felix is riding high. He's a bit of a puncher. Banged out Gary Cully unceremoniously in Dublin, but that was 2 weight classes below. They've dragged him up from lightweight up to welterweight, or from super lightweight up to welterweight at least. So at least he's coming up 1 class, although he has fought at lightweight most of his career. He's lost in the past, I'm pretty sure. I was at the fight at the Falls Park against Tyrone McKenna. So we know what his level is. I think he's dining out on that Cully win. He's coming up. He's going to be too small. And I think Crocker's going to make mincemeat of him in the first 4 or 5 rounds,
Yeah, I agree. I like Crocker, by the way. I think he's very good. Hits hard, and I think his record suggests as well. I think he's one of those that when people will come at him, he will wipe him out. Was disappointed he didn't get Tyrone McKenna out of there.
Did everything but?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he battered him basically, and that's what you want to see from fighters. Sometimes just go through the gears, get him out of there. He had everything going for him in terms of getting him out of there, and he should have done. But look, McKenna's a tough guy. He can take his shots, etc., that sort of stuff. But I think this Felix guy is one from where he's going to come in and he'll get folded by Crocker. I think Crocker will tee off on him. Ultimately, will have it all of his own way, and we'll get him out of there, and we'll look really good in doing that as well. Paddy Donovan, big talent, a lot to like about him. I think he's trained by Andy Lee still. I think I'm right there.
Yep.
So obviously Andy Lee flying high at the moment with that big win in the corner of Joseph Parker. Paddy Donovan, huge talent, has looked really good in pretty much every fight. Great win against Danny Ball back end of last year as well, and battered Sam O'Maison. They're matching him quite well, actually. I like that. I think this guy is your typical, right, we'll start getting a couple of Argentinian, Mexican opponents coming in, ones that won't necessarily roll over after 3 or 4 rounds and have got the ability to take the shots as well and soak it up. But I think not a statement if he gets this guy out of there, but I think it will be impressive if he can, particularly early, and it will show that his power is well and truly legit, and he's got from where even against guys who are typically used to soaking up shots, he can still get them out of there as well. I think Chef Clark, Tommy McCarthy, this is a good fight. This, if you look at it, Clark has only had 7 fights as a pro. I don't think McCarthy is the best. But he's operated at decent domestic level. He's boxed for European titles, albeit he's fallen short in fights. But he's had the experience of going in with higher level guys.
He's talented, Tommy, when it goes his way.
Yeah, he always seems like a guy that he gets into. It's like a bit of cruise control, really, and always boxes within himself. But I think he's got the ability from where he's certainly better, mate, than going in the away corner against Clark, who is kind of a prospect in a way, 7-0. McCarthy, bizarrely, from Ireland, but he's in the away corner. This is a good fight, and I think if Clark goes out, I think if Clark can stop him, that'll be really impressive. And I think a wide points win will be very good as well. But I don't think McCarthy will win, but I certainly think he's got it in him to make life difficult for Clark. I liken it to, I can't remember who. It was another Matchroom prospect who he chucked in with somebody. I can't remember who it was, but it came too early for him. Bugger, who was it? Chris Jenkins ended up boxing him, but he got Jenkins. I'll come back to that and throw the name in. But this is what it could be like again, in a sense of, is this a fight too early? Chucking him in with Tommy McCarthy. But I do like Clark from what I've seen. I think he will come through that. And then I don't know who that Giorgio Visioli is or Emmanuel Butgeig. Not sure what's on it. Yeah, not a clue.
He made his
never
debut on the Michael Conlon undercard. He's only 18 from London. Looked decent, but the opponent was crap.
Yeah, well, I'll be amazed if this opponent is much better as well. And then that Connor Walker, a bit of a that was it. Yeah, so Cyrus Pattinson.
That's right.
Typically, yes, that was so Cyrus Pattinson. Very similar situation with Chef Clark in a way that they were matching him. They were talking the talk. They chucked him in with Jenkins, who Jenkins certainly won rounds early on, but then it kind of Father Time caught up with him a little bit. But then Walker came in and battered, beat up Cyrus Pattinson, and I do wonder could it be the same for McCarthy? From where, as you say, when it clicks for Tommy, he's very good, and it could be difficult to beat, and it would be great if so. I mean, it'd be a huge win for Tommy McCarthy, but could it be a similar situation? But this is where Walker's got this opportunity now, very much win and you stay on against. I don't really know much about the opponent, Lloyd Germain, 9-0, 1 KO, so certainly not a puncher. He's only boxed one guy with a winning record, or two, sorry, Jake Tinkling and Martin Harkin, who I think is pretty much just southern area level at best, area level type of stuff. Sorry, not southern area, but yeah, he's okay. I don't really know much about that fight, but this is like a good small old card, really, but a bit better than that. But one of those, just solid little domestic cards. They're putting in at Ulster Hall. So I assume, what does that hold? About 1,500, something like that, 2,000?
Not even. No, it's a small. It's like a York Hall balcony.
Right.
It was supposed to be originally Aussie in the New Forge Sports Centre in South Belfast, which I'd never even heard of. And then there was all mysterious about getting the tickets. And then it got moved to the Ulster Hall. It was all a bit weird.
Did a couple of fights drop off this?
Yeah, I think so. Oh, yeah, Sean McComb was supposed to fight.
That was it, yeah. So I wonder if they've just lost a couple of fights and decided just to go to a bit smaller venue. But it's very much to showcase Lewis Crocker, start building him over in Ireland now as well. I think they know they've got somebody there with ability and can certainly get to a decent level. This card is all about Lewis Crocker, so we'll wait and see. But there's some good fights on this card. It's not ultimately what you pay your subscription for, but if you've got the bigger shows sandwiched in between these ones, I think people will accept it. And like I said, McCarthy, Clark, main event, a couple of others. It's not a horrendous night, that's for sure.
Matty, if Crocker gets past Felix and Donovan gets past Herrera, I'm pretty sure they're going to try and match them two up, and that's going to be a really enticing fight. I know across the pond, maybe not as much interest, but even on ESPN, the real deal, you call Donovan, Irish southpaw from Limerick, really good amateur. His brother Edward's very good as well. He's training with Andy Lee. A lot of similarities to Lee. Big puncher, skilled, awkward. He has really looked the business against Danny Ball last time. Decent enough opponent. Just broke him down until his corner threw in the towel. And him against Crocker would be a sort of, I'd say puncher against boxer, but Crocker can box a bit as well. Early on in his career, he was an absolute banger. He was knocking people out with the left hook. He was full of confidence. He was with D. Walsh. He relocated to Adam Booth, Apparently not. Didn't suit him whatsoever. Didn't suit his style. Went over to Scotland. Trains with Billy Nelson now. He's 18-0, 10 knockout. He looked brilliant against Tyrone McKenna. Everything but the stoppage. Dominated him from first bell till last. And one thing I liked about him, Matty, as well, was his spite. He was laughing at McKenna. He looked like he loved the fight. So that tells me in the future, he's not going to go down easily. When someone comes at him, which Donovan won't, but Felix will at the weekend, he will look $1 million because he loves a scrap. His beard looks tough enough. He looks like he can box. He can bang. Good amateur back in the day, boxed for Northern Ireland. That he could be a real prospect. This could be a real sort of domestic showdown, Matty, in the future.
Yeah, I remember that fight, but Steve, you might have predicted something that could sadly happen if he's foolish. There's a difference between laughing at McKenna and laughing at Felix, who is a legitimate puncher for anything else that he isn't. I think he's more comfortable at 140 pounds. He's 5'8". There's not going to be a whole lot of a size disparity here in the ring. And you ask Gary Cully how it feels when he catches you clean. So I think it would serve him well to go back to that boxing in this fight and get through it if you think such a payday is on the line.
Will you be tuning into this one? I think ESPN might possibly show it. I'm not sure the link-up deal with Matchroom.
No, that'd be DAZN.
Maybe not.
Be
Maybe
on
not.
DAZN.
They'd be on DAZN.
Oh yeah,
Be
of
on
course you got
DAZN,
DAZN
yeah.
over there. Sorry, I was forgetting about Matty having DAZN. I thought he'd quit it.
And we'll see. I have a new Roku stick. We'll see if the Roku 4K is the solution to the DAZN problem.
Absolutely. Matty might have to fly over here to watch the show, as DAZN might recommend to him on the customer service, but that's maybe more Bellew the Week territory.
Are you going, Steve?
Yeah, I'm going, yeah.
Are you going? Yeah, it should be decent. I was just going to say on the Donovan Crocker fight, would you liken it a bit to obviously I don't think they've got the rivalry, have they? I was going to say a bit like when Warren matched DeGale against George Groves, that sort of level in terms of two big, and they're not as big a names as that, but similar sort of abilities. Donovan's certainly not been as experienced, but that sort of 15-0 against an 18-0. Try and get it for a meaningful title. Would it be something like those lines? I know it's a bit different because DeGale and Groves absolutely hated each other, but that sort of two prospects, bit better than prospects going in against each other. That's what I mean?
Yeah. No, I think there's definitely comparisons to be made. Obviously, Groves and DeGale are the sort of backyard rivalry. The fact they've been in the same gym, they've boxed as these two. I'm not sure about whether they clashed as amateurs at all, but they feel like they've been on different trajectories. And I hadn't put two and two together before this fight and thought about them fighting. So it certainly hasn't been built up, although afterwards it might be. Crocker's from a sort of a loyalist area in Belfast. Donovan's from down the south. So there's not that built-in rivalry really. But as for the records and the style-wise, like you say, the southpaw sort of back foot guy against the kind of come forward guy with a good jab, then there's definitely that comparison to be made. And yeah, I'm looking forward to going along and see. It's always easier to go to these small hall shows whenever there's something to look forward to, especially the main event and the support as well. It's not just one-sided mismatches. So yes, we shall look forward to that one. Right, it's 9:25 before we get on to the Bellew of the Week, so we're going to have one more point of discussion. I mentioned this earlier. I'm not sure if Andy's back with us, actually, Matty, so we'll go to you first of all, if you don't mind. Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren are becoming strange bedfellows over in Saudi. It's amazing what the lure of the Luca will do for you and get these two born rivals in against each other. Apparently, they said they hadn't met beforehand, although I can't believe that. Eddie's dad, Barry, was obviously head of Matchroom back in the 80s and 90s, and him and Frank would have butted heads then. Eddie came on the scene about 2010, 2011. A lot of fights over here in Belfast as well.
You know, Steve, that's the glory of those kind of eyes wide shut parties. Is with the mask, you might not have run into somebody in your life.
We don't know. We don't know. In the Kubricon, who knows whether they could have held hands before, but they certainly did with Turkey. Al Sheikh, anyway, he got them together, and they're talking about a versus 5, which is why I'm asking you, Matty. They're saying that 5 of Matchroom's fighters and 5 of Queensberry fighters could go at it. They're going to announce the projected fights, I think, during the week of AJ and Ngannou. Anything that tickles your fancy? That sounds good on paper, doesn't it? It sounds like something that we'd be interested in, but in reality, we'll probably end up with Sam Eggington against Bradley Skeet, or Billy Joe Saunders against John Ryder, or fights of that ilk that we've seen when they've crossed over in the past. And the reality might not be as interesting as the dream.
Yeah, I don't know. And Jason actually chipped in and asked me this question. Which Jason? I don't know. I'm trying to remember which one I was chatting with in WhatsApp. But one of the Jasons asked about this card. I mean, there's some interesting possibilities, I guess, going within it. But the question is, are they really willing to put on competitive fights, or are they going to each kick out 2 sacrificial lambs and have 1 competitive fight in the 5? I don't know on that one. I would kind of, and this is a wild card, I'd kind of like to see Eddie put up Diego Pacheco.
Against who? Jack Cullen too? Oh no, he's in his stable as well, isn't it? Oh no, he's boxer now. That's not going to happen.
No, I almost think Pacheco to dip his toe in at 175. Who the heck does Warren have at 175?
Or yards floating about.
Yeah.
No, it's a bit too much for him, maybe. Amo Williams versus Hamza Shearer, says MB. Ozzy, I asked Matty this last week when we were talking about Beterbiev, Callum Smith. Who would you pick now? I suppose in the light of, this was before the fight, but who in the light of Smith getting battered by Beterbiev, Yard previously losing to Beterbiev, doing a lot better, as you mentioned. Who do you think now, if Yard went against Callum Smith, how would that fight end up?
I'd take Yard. I really would have. I've said it before, I've never really been impressed with Callum Smith. I always think he's had a bit of hype from his promoters, but realistically, when has he ever looked, fantastic? I mean, he scored that brutal KO where that guy was like shaking on the floor, but he lost against John Ryder. He's always underwhelming in terms of these fights. I think his best win's probably a decaying George Groves, who had to take the fight because he was offered absolutely millions in that World Boxing Super Series, but his shoulder was absolutely knackered. His two big fights, he's ultimately kind of froze in a way, in a sense of Canelo and Beterbiev, from where he didn't really do anything. And I think styles make fights, but I think Yard would take it to him. And Smith has got the ability to try and to potentially outbox him without a doubt. But I always say about, like I say, he's one of them that just flatters to deceive. And I would take Yard in a sense of, I think now Yard knows that he's been in with Beterbiev. He was able to stand kind of like toe-to-toe at times and take the shots, which I think has proven that he's certainly got a chin. He would have nothing to fear against someone like Callum Smith. But I don't think that fight would happen anyway. I think it's going to be interesting, this 5-on-5. I don't think we're going to see anything, like Joshua against Fury or Joshua against Daniel Dubois. I think it will be certainly on a lower level of that. It's going to be 5 different weights from what they've mentioned. I don't see us, whilst I think they could put some very good domestic fights on, whether that be at English level or British level. Not sure we're going to see that. I think they'll think a bit more outside the box, and I do wonder, will they stay essentially Brit on Brit, or will Hearn tap into his US stable and bring guys over from the US to Saudi as well and look at that? I'm not really sure. Queensberry obviously aren't blessed with fighters who they've got in America, etc. That sort of stuff. Wouldn't surprise me potentially if Joe Joyce gets wheeled out. If he wins, they look at Joe Joyce against potentially a heavyweight in Matchroom stable. Would we see? Hrgovic isn't actually with Matchroom anymore, but that might have been something. Hrgovic against Joyce, for example, which don't think that's a bad fight actually. But look, I'm all for it. The one thing I would say, sorry, and it's not like cough, is it's just a bit of a killer that it's taken ultimately this Saudi money to make these things happen. And it's shown that when they actually stop bitching about each other on cameras, that they can make better things happen, and it's better for the sport. And cross-promotional fights do have that bit of a rivalry, because we know fans like to support a promotional outfit, etc., that sort of stuff. And imagine this was in for example, at the MEN Arena, 20,000 there or something like that. Yeah. Build it once a year, and it could honestly become an annual thing. It's not wrong in thinking that it could be a Queensberry against Matchroom, that sort of stuff.
It should be a common occurrence. Hey, your fighter fights my fighter. We can both make money off it. They're both ranked with the same organization.
Yeah.
It should be that simple. I went through their fighters, guys, and I got a good fight for you at lightweight, actually. And I was kind of surprised to come across this one. I had to scroll through and to find this one. But how about Andy Cruz against Dennis Baranchik?
I've seen somebody mention that actually. I don't know if what's it called, if Baranchik is still with Warren. I think he was signed through the Usyk thing or something like that. But yeah, that would be something.
He's still listed as a Queensberry fighter at this moment.
Yeah, well, if he is, then yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure if they'll take somebody like Andy Cruz over to Saudi. That's what I mean. Yeah. I do wonder what sort of like permutations they'll do.
How are they going to be weighted between the level of fighters and all? It's strange, I think.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what they're going to do, how it's going to work, what sort of levels they're going to look at. What we don't want is just random fights that we look at and think, well, actually, that's not even that good. I think if you're gonna do a 5-on-5, you ultimately do want the best where possible. And it does seem in Saudi that ultimately money is no option. So there's no reason why we shouldn't be seeing the best versus the best. I would need to pull up the respective rosters and see what sort of fights that we could make. But one that would have worked, which is happening in Saudi, would have been something like Joe Cordina against Anthony Kakachi.
Yeah.
If you're middle of the fight, that is something that would have worked for this sort of billing. And I think a lot of people would have said, yeah, absolutely, we can get on board with this. But no, it's going to be, but it's something that I would like to see annual. But I put a tweet out on the X a few days ago, and it's the one thing that worries me for UK boxing is that it seems like anything meaningful at the moment is being thrown over to Saudi. So even like Kakachi against Cordina, that could easily headline in Wales, and you build that with as a chief support of Gavin Gwynn, who is boxing out in Saudi as well. From what, yeah, they're getting huge money. I get that, but at the same time, if fights like that are going over to Saudi, what the hell are UK fight fans going to be left with? And people are saying, oh, well, if it headlined at the Copper Box or this and that, it wouldn't sell out. You're telling me that there's going to be like 5,000-6,000 people watching Cordina against Kakachi. They don't care. There's going to be about 40 people there watching it, and then they flood in for the main event. They're not fussed. The only difference is the fighter's purse. And unless you are the accountant or the manager of the said fighter and you're getting a percentage, the purse should not bother you. But you want the meaningful fights where possible to be on in the UK, and we don't want everything going to Saudi and running the risk of just leaving UK fight fans with watered down rubbish.
And Rob, who's jumped on, you're very welcome this evening. Saudi, it's building. The best are sort of fighting the best, but so far the very best haven't fought the very best. They haven't quite cracked that just yet.
Well, they've only just started, haven't they? Like, and they pulled out. They've had Fury fight over there. Joshua's going on his second fight. Fury's going on his second fight.
Building.
His Excellency has already said he wants Haney and Shakur Stevenson. He wants to try to make that happen next. I don't know. I think he's a listener of the pod because we were calling for him to get to the lighter weights, and I think he's listening, His Excellency. So
there's no way they'll take that to Saudi, will they? Let's be honest.
Well,
if he waves enough fucking braid in front of it,
I'd be very surprised.
But this guy seems to have an unlimited budget. Like, how the fuck did he manage to pull off? Fury would have got paid a hell of a lot of money, and Garner got paid a hell of a lot of money. AJ gets paid a hell of a lot, and they've stacked undercards too. So obviously the budget is not an issue. Like, so if he really wants to make Haney versus fucking Shakur, they're not going to make that fucking kind of money fighting each other any other time, and there's going to be network shit and all that. At least His Excellency kind of takes that out because he pays both networks, doesn't he? Like, he's a great lad. He's a great. And as soon as he fucking decides to dip his toe in the podcasting world, we'll be right there.
Holding his hand.
Yeah, exactly. Brothers for life. But no, it's like, I honestly, I hear what Ozzy's saying, but I don't get to see many fights anyway because Ireland didn't really have them for a long time. So, like, if this, it seems like a step in the right direction for the sport in terms of, right, we always had that fucking Queensbury versus Matchroom thing. It was petty, it was stupid, it was childish. And basically, the two of them existed for the last 2 years just to fucking be on YouTube talking about each other. It was got to the stage where it was so fucking boring and counterproductive because the fights never got made. And this fella saying, look, fuck this, I'll pay the two of you, shut the fuck up about the money, I'll pay the two of you, just let me have your fighters fight each other. Best thing for it, isn't it? Like, so let's see how he does if he it's early doors, like I said, they've had a couple of shows, but the shows have had big names on them and kind of competitive cards and a bit of an upset in there. And it seems like boxing is warming to this shit. Like, so if he can make fights happen, think about how many weeks we'd be here fucking just getting by on fumes when there's no, there's one card on in America and there's one headliner and the undercard is shit. The Saturday night in Boxer is shit. And we're just sitting here trudging through old tripe. Well, if he can change that, like, more power to him, you know what I mean? So it makes it more exciting. Like,
No, absolutely.
Speaking of old stripe, like I was watching Boxer last night. Do you want to talk about that? Like,
go on, go ahead, yeah.
What a fucking, like, how the fucking mighty have fallen. Like, you've got fucking, you've come from Eddie, who used to get absolute pelters, and deservedly so a lot of the time, because he used to say, at least he used to dress up he used to dress up mutton as lamb, didn't he? But he did a better job selling it. This shit last night was a Zach Chelly and Jack Cullen, or is it Jack Chelly and Zach Cullen? Whatever the fuck.
Whichever combination you choose.
Get that Chelly's dad off the fucking telly, by the way. Don't let fucking Da Chelly back on the telly. He's not fucking good look. Like, he's like a fucking Angel Garcia or something, isn't he? Shouting from the rooftops about the best super middleweight in Britain. Well, if that's it, like, that was a fucking terrible fucking fight on a Saturday night shit show, followed by an absolute fucking robbery against Michaela Mayer. Like, all jokes aside, I say, I was laughing in the group chat, like saying Jonas was winning handy, but I thought Jonas won the first 2 to 3 rounds, maybe. Then Mayer just destroyed her for the rest of the fight. Like, and she was hanging on. Fucking, she hurt her badly as well. She had she looked like she was going to knock her out in the 10th, and it was a 97-93 card or something for Natasha Jonas. Like, I don't know. It makes a mockery of the sport. Mayer must be sick. Like, she's on the back end of 2 contentious decisions. Like, I thought Baumgartner edged it in the first fight. All Baumgartner jokes aside, I thought she slightly edged it in the first fight. I thought Mayer let her get away with it, but she fucking wasn't even any stone unturned last night. She was working off she thought she was reaching a little bit in the first 2 rounds, but then she just took over the fight. She adapted to this kind of southpaw style. Like, she was just drilling Jonas. Like, I just don't see. She was outlanding her. She was backing her up. She was hurting her. She was landing the cleaner punches. Like, to just have a decision like that is just like just get out of here. And Ben Shalom, like, then he was like sitting there with a straight face where Natasha Jonas was adorning compliments on him and saying that he's changed her life and he's the best thing that ever fucking happened, but he's the worst thing that ever happened to fucking boxing on a Saturday night on Sky. I'll tell you that much. Bring back Frank Buglioni. Boxer. What a fucking horror show that is. So, again, if His Excellency is taking these fucking pawns out of the game, good. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to watch this shit. Like, that's not a headline fight anywhere on planet Earth. That's not a good card. Like, do you know what I mean? And to have it on like the major broadcaster is just a bit of a fucking joke.
Rob, you mentioned exactly major broadcasters, not even in the ring. It just feels like this corner's being cut everywhere. You got Johnny and Anna Woolhouse hanging around in the corridors, and you got that ASMR reporter, I'm not sure what you call him, whispering away that quietly to the fighters. You can't even hear him. It just feels like the whole thing's just going down the toilet.
And Johnny Nelson and Anna Woolhouse were dressed like they were fucking some part of Enlightenment cult or something last night, weren't they? Like, she had a white pantsuit on her, Johnny had the white fucking with the grey. Just join us, come and join the Boxer Club. Well, I'm not joining that one anyway. You can fuck off.
Johnny Horsecock Waco.
the branch Davidians. I don't know. It was fucking it was a poor show. Like, Johnny Nelson didn't even put a fucking suit jacket on him last night. He just came with a polo white shirt and a pair of pantsuit bottoms. He couldn't give a fuck anymore. He's just there for the bread, like, isn't he? And like, Caldwell on comms is horrific as well. Like, horrific, like really, really bad. But at least they got
ketchup on his jacket, Rob. Did you ever think of that?
Thrills and spills backstage in Sky, I bet.
What are they going to do with Ben whenever he's
Did they get rid of him? Did they finally bin Macklin? Because Macklin wasn't there last night.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I think Caldwell was just stepping in. Yeah, I think.
Or maybe they caved to public pressure to remove Matthew Macklin. I doubt it though somehow.
No, I don't think
so. Yeah, it wasn't great. And you'd feel hard, but you wouldn't want to come back to fight. And I remember, it's funny because Ozzy was saying that he met her before, and he was saying like that she knows her fan base is in the UK, which she won't be in a fucking hurry to come back here anytime soon. I wouldn't think, or come back to the UK anytime soon to have a fight. Like, and Jonas does not want that rematch. Like, she said, yeah, whatever happens, if the fans want it, fuck off, man. I'll fight her again. Get out of here. So yeah, where does she go? Maybe Baumgartner rematch. Who knows? Like, but you feel bad for Mayer in a situation like that. She got hosed like it was a bad robbery. Like,
certainly was. Andy, final one for you before we close out and go on to Bellew of the week. So back to the 5 versus 5 we were talking earlier. Frank's 5 against Eddie's 5 over in Saudi. Anything that you've sort of got your eye on? Will it be weighted that it's actually exciting? Dalton Smith against P.S. O'Leary, somebody mentioned. Anthony Yarde against Callum Smith, possibility. Sky Nicholson against Raven Chapman. Is that getting the blood pumping, Andy?
No. None of that's getting me going at all, mate. Dalton Smith against who, sorry?
P.S. O'Leary. He's a banger.
Yeah, both are quite heavy hitters of them. What was the rest of the card, mate?
Well, these are just Yeah, they're Chapman against Nicholson, Yard, Smith. These are just potential fights people are throwing out. We don't know.
Yarding. All right, so this is nothing. Right. Okay.
No. It's going to be announced the AJ and Ngannou week apparently.
So what is it? I take it this Frank Eddie? I mean, I've been that busy this week, mate. I've not even been watching the boxing, to be fair. But what's the deal here? Are they going to be like clubbing against their stables? No, that many have got many right home about.
Yeah, apparently. So Frank Warren's Queensberry, Eddie Hearn's Matchroom have agreed a 5 versus 5 event to take place in Riyadh. Boxers from the two promotional outfits will be pitted against each other with a date and card to be announced during the Ngannou AJ fight week in early March. Who wins? Which fighters would you choose to compete in this show for both promoters in Saudi Arabia?
Joke's going to be on us when it's a 5-on-5 tag team match between executives of the company.
Might be. Frank Smith against Dev.
I'm trying to remember, but I think he's got a fight arranged, or he's got something in the pipeline. Nick Ball, I think he's getting a world title fight sometime soon, as you know. I think that's been ordered.
Who's he fighting now? Is it Vargas?
Is it Espinosa, the guy?
Ray Vargas.
Vargas,
Nick Ball.
I think.
Vargas, that's who it is,
Nick
yeah.
Ball,
So,
Ray Vargas, yeah.
I dare say he'll take that opportunity unless Frank can somehow swing him. I'm trying to look at some
Ray
names
Vargas,
here.
UD, Andy. Ray Vargas, UD.
Oh, no good.
Another one who's been grossly inactive under the PBC. Sorry, Andy, go ahead.
Nah, yeah, I know, mate. I'm looking at the featherweight rankings here actually to see what they've got in terms of Jordan Gill, you've got Josh Warrington, you've got Nick Ball, as we mentioned there.
We're mentioning some of these fights, by the way. So, like Pierce O'Leary against Dalton Smith. That fight should be happening in the UK. That should not be going on in the middle of a card in Saudi, 5-on-5. I get you're going to see some, by the way, which could easily happen in the UK, but we'll go out there and because you need to find 5 fights, but you kind of want to be trying to make in fights that are as not necessarily impossible, but are incredibly difficult to make to happen in the UK.
Yes, because the money's there to push them over the line.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So we don't necessarily want to be seeing really solid domestic bouts on this card. That from where, they might necessarily avoid them at this stage to make sure it's bigger in the future. But actually, you can still do that. We don't necessarily need to see it. I was just going through the rosters then, and actually, some of the fights that there's nothing actually that you think really stands out. I mean, I'd love to see something like headlining it, Joshua against Dubois. Because it's not going to be Fury realistically, but Joshua Dubois I think would be great to headline that. It's not going to happen. And then you've got others as well. I think that women's fight actually, Nicholson Chapman's not bad, and I think Chapman would win. But it's going to be really interesting to see what they go with. I don't know what they're going to do, how they're going to do it. Like we said, 5 different weights. So what weights are they going to go for? Wouldn't shock me if we see Maxi Hughes potentially on there. If depends when it's going to be as well. They said when the 5-on-5's going to be.
Fighting Williams Zepeda.
I was ready to say Hughes has got a fight arranged, or something's in the pipeline.
Yeah, if they're announcing it March, Ozzy, I imagine probably for the summer, maybe like July or June or something.
Yeah, but when does that Riyadh season finish?
Well, I don't think it ever finishes.
March time. It's March time, I'm sure somebody said.
I think it's like Easter and it kind of floats every year.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it resumes then in the winter, our winter type of thing. So is it going to be announced and then it's going to happen? It might kick off Riyadh season in, say, September, October time, which then actually you can look at some fights and say that, well, he's boxing, but he's still going to do this. Or we're going to look at 5 people regardless. And their next fight will be on this show as well. So not really sure how it's going to work, but to see too.
That'll be a Golden Boy card, that Williams Zepeda fight, mate. So that'll be Vegas. March are talking about that one.
Yeah. We'll wait and see. I mean, Joshua Ngannou's not a long way away, so we'll wait and see. And I'm sure murmurings will come out about what we're going to see and things like that. But as I've said then, we want to be seeing the fights that are as good as impossible to make, and the extra budget in Saudi can get them over the line. Not really good domestic fights like Gwynn against Mark Chamberlain, Kakachi against Cordina, stuff like that. We don't want to be seeing that propping up cards over there when they could easily headline shows over here.
Well said, Ozzy. Well said indeed. Just a couple from the chat here. Alex Bellotti says Saudis have banned women's boxing and YouTube boxing legends. We've got Wardley versus McKean, Itoma, Fisher as well. It's not getting the blood racing, is it? This really?
Yeah, I mean, what the fuck's that? I mean, the Itoma against Fisher on a fucking Saudi card, mate. I mean, fucking, but the ideal fight. I mean, he put on as a filler for an Eddie show at the U2 at the O2 or something. I was waiting to say U2, fuck's sake, O2.
Bono against somebody on the undercard.
I thought we could
Beterbiev. You mind seeing
no,
that?
Bono against Dickhead. What do they call him? Geldof, man. I think that'd be a great one. Two wankers. Would you know who to vote for, who to support that one, would you? Double knockout. Yeah. Honestly, I just put my laptop up there. Actually, as Ozzy's mentioned about having to go to bed soon, that because he's got to be up early. I'm looking at my call log for what a fucking chaos, man.
I know it's bonkers.
Dreading. I need to get up at 7:30 at this rate, man. I'm like,
I know. We're finishing off with the Bellew of the weeks now. Matty, nothing else we need to add in? Any cards I might have missed before we go on to Bellews?
No, and I think if we happen to run across them, we can get to them next week.
Excellent stuff. Thank you very much.
Fuck, I'm only after getting here. Relax, really. Paddy's only starting.
Well, we're worried about you getting blown away, man. If it's anything like up here.
Listen, don't worry about me getting blown away. It's going to be all right.
You seen the state of County Meath fucking petrol station? Jesus fuck.
See the state of County Meath before the storm. It's grand.
There's pair cunts getting up in fucking Oslo, man. Jesus Christ.
Even the spaceships aren't coming down, Rob. It's that window.
No, it's not too bad. I'm in the southeast, so it's not too bad. I think up by Steve in the northwest, they're getting battered.
Bad up here. The roof was going to be
Isn't it amazing what a difference 20 years makes? 20 years ago, you're just worried about getting blown, not blown away.
Blown up.
Well, I wouldn't say worried about it.
Seeking it.
Careful what you wish for, boys. Right, on to Bellew Week, episode 556. Ozzy's left us. Thank you for coming back tonight. Oliver, Rapping Bob Kelly's still with us, thankfully. So is Matty, Andy, and me, Steve, playing us in. This was from Tim Boxayo a couple of weeks ago. I've been saving it up. Ramadani Ali was in the ring in Tanzania. Respect to everyone who steps in the ring. He was in against Haruna Mando. Here he is. Here's Haruna. 25 years young, Haruna, according to his birth certificate anyway. Getting in the ring for the first time. Debutant he was. And this was quite the show. Never mind misfits boxing. This was some kind of misfit going on.
That's a pity, That's a pity. He was just warming into
premature
that looks like he's taking place in a fucking cow shed, man. What the fucking state of that canvas looked like it's been tied up by a fucking
concrete canvas, Andy. That was concrete canvas.
I was kind of curious what George Foreman looked like when he was out of shape and like mid hair loss, and I kind of think I know now. The guy that was winning, that's good. Yeah.
That's a bit. He was only warming into it, man. That's fucking unfortunate injury that's made him. He was set to continue.
The guy with the Apollo Creed trunks will look like the Tanzanian version of bloody Charles Bartley, didn't he?
Did you not see him switching southpaw and all?
A different kind of master of disaster in King of Sting there. Fuck me. Yeah, I like the way he went to the body though. I love the way he went to the body. That was good. Good work for him.
And this experience, 25-year-old my arse, man. What the fuck?
You also got to give it up to anybody who's able to get fat in a poor country too. That's pretty cool.
Oh dear. Good luck to the boys. That's what we say.
Fucking 25 though, man. Go back to that. Anybody listening to this audio, go to YouTube. Go to like 1 minute 48 and 24 seconds.
Well,
look at that guy. 25.
Hold on. Let's do a little Google here real quick. Let's see here. So, let's see here. Life expectancy of Tanzania.
You say it's 22 or something like that.
Funnily enough, my brother was in Tanzania a few months ago.
66.41 years. That's pre-COVID, but that's not too bad.
Yeah, see, he's just getting going, man. If he hits his head off that concrete canvas a few times, he might not live to 67.
Yeah, and in 2022 it was 66.08. So yeah, he's just a little bit over a third of the way there. Rock on. Yeah. Stay out of the ring. Stay out of the ring.
Get him on the Sowerland cards, that's what I say. Horrible Harry Scarf wasn't too pleased about it. Wasn't the Tanzanian action, it was Sky Sports. He says, another shite Sky Sports boxing card. Boxer needs to get in the bin. Grew up watching Sky Sports boxing, and the whole thing from top to bottom now is toss. Hashtag boxing, Andy. I don't think Harry Scarf's going to be turning up on boxing anytime soon.
Harry Scarf, man, he's some man. Yeah, he's not telling any lies, though, is he? I mean, the thing is, what was it? Was it an article that came out today allegedly about Ben Shalom and some dodgy dealings, allegedly?
No, surely not.
Surely no. No boxing, man. Land of the pure.
Not Ben.
Hopefully he doesn't get locked up because he's going to be such a big loss to Sky Sports on a Saturday night. Hope nothing bad happens to Ben Shalom. Jesus, how will we live without him? Fuck's sake.
We wish Ben well. Nick Pete, here's my scorecard for Jonas versus Mayer. Just one round in it. Couldn't complain. It's a 5-5 draw either, but middle round is what mattered. And there we are. Got a little brackets there. NJ, big start. Energy and versus accuracy,
Right.
bigger shots.
Let me just end this right now. Guess where Nick Pete is from.
Oh, I don't know.
I'll give you two guesses, but you're only going to need one, Steve.
Yeah.
Accrington Stanley.
Who are they?
Exactly.
He's on the Fight Disciples, isn't he, Pete? Isn't he the one that looks like Smigger Smig and Jim Royal's love child?
Allegedly, aye.
Oh, I think he is. He's doing bits. He's enjoying himself.
Fight disabled.
Fight Disciples.
One of those people who gets like really pumped up watching Dirty Dancing.
Don't we all, Matty? Danny says Fat Paul struggling to understand how Beterbiev can be in good shape at 39 when he couldn't. Paul Smith, former boxer turned trainer.
This is the guy.
The Smiths are getting fucking fire set to them online this week, aren't they? And they kind of doubled down on it, didn't they? Because they gave a round of interviews after the fight, then they gave another round of interviews Tuesday and Thursday just to fucking double down on it. Like, fuck's sake.
Yeah, someone who's turning 39 in a little more than a month, I have similar questions. There's something about just something foul afoot here.
I think, Matty, you're about to go into your prime, Andy. Isn't that right now?
Yeah.
Going into his prime.
Paul Smith still bitter about the time he missed weight and ended up costing him 5 figures.
Oh, yeah, against Ward. Absolutely. Well, there's B-Hop. Warning.
That's an old picture, that, man, for Christ's sake.
Bernard Hopkins, when you follow him into the bathroom.
I wonder what the fuck is going on there.
That's an old picture. I don't know where that picture is, but that's an ancient one, that. I mean, look, his beard's still fucking black, man. His fucking beard these days is like white.
Would you follow him into the bathroom, Andy?
Would that fuck me? Would that fuck? I'd have a wine bottle plug up my arse before I went anywhere.
Oh, good old B-Hop.
Him and P. Diddy, we went to party.
Yeah. Alicia Baumgardner says that the weight that's been lifted off me. And Amanda says, I'm so happy for you. You showed so much strength and grace. Thank you, says Alicia. There you go, Matty. Alicia now identifies as innocent and she's acquitted herself.
Hey, I'm not here to speak when the Alicia Baumgardner expert is here. I have to divert to Mr. Kelly on this one, Steve.
No, I think this bitch was lying. She's cheater.
Team Alicia. We support her all the way. Tony Bellew says, get in. Brilliant. Well done, champ. Tasha Jonas. And the chief jumped in and said, please show me a fighter who's got stronger with age. She's 39 and she's getting quicker and sharper. Physically, that's not usually possible, but she's doing it. Our great sport is looking at like baseball was. He's cut and pasted Tony's tweet from Beterbiev Smith, man. Brilliant from the chief there.
That's brilliant. That. I'm not wanting to get the menopause as well, eh?
Yeah, exactly. She's got a tough chin. She's getting through it. Dan Raphael was beefing with Beefy. He's got more testosterone at 39 than probably us four brothers put together, says Liam. Dan says, seems to me my man, and he tags in Liam, should learn what an atypical test means instead of throwing shade because his brother got destroyed.
Cold.
Flying in like it's the buffet for Fat Dan, man.
I wouldn't doubt that one Beterbiev is worth 4 Smiths. I think that's a fair comparison.
Big Dan coming in there like Storm. What's the Storm I've got to know? Storm Irene, what you call her? Or Aisha, or fucking
Storm Aisha, I think it is.
Whatever the bitch is called, man. Fucking
flying in. flying.
Dan's
in,
coming
Dan.
in there, fucking throwing it about. Here we go.
Yeah.
He look.
Here we go.
Hold on. Why does Smith look like a fucking extra from like the city, the elite city in the Hunger Games? What the fuck?
He's unhappy, Matty. He's unhappy. Fat Dan's going in on him. Boxer and Matchroom having a bit of beef, Andy, according to No Smoke Sport, reportedly suing Boxer and Sky Sports for £7.7 million lost profits off Buatsi, apparently.
So basically, if I go to that article on nosmokesport.com, it'll be Eddie Hearn feeding that little Darshan a fucking write-up what to go and say. I think I'll pass on that shite.
Pass on that one, Andy. Pass on that one. Ryan Deal's been doing the Lord's work again.
Shit.
He's a bad man, isn't he?
He's a fucking bastard, doesn't he?
Good old Ryan. Yeah, go and watch the Bellew of the Week. Cut on YouTube.
Yeah, what did she put on their OnlyFans page, Rob? Do you know?
Michaela Mayer's OnlyFans?
Yeah, we've been on it, Rob.
Subscribing to that. What's it called? I'm fucking subscribing to that one.
Rob, I think you're missing out because although I'm not a subscriber, from the pictures that I have seen, her jump in weight has been entirely in her ass. So I think you're missing out.
Yeah, but you can still see her fucking jaw from space like the Great Wall of China. So I don't know. No way. Yeah, of course, it's for courses.
Would you have let Michaela on the tour bus, Rob?
We weren't fucking good enough to have a tour bus. You could have come in the back of the Volkswagen Polo at some stages. You hadn't.
Oh dear me. Tevin Farmer's thrown his hat in the ring. He says, Golden Boy Boxing, heard Ryan Garcia need a dance partner. Sign me up. I'll fight him next at 140. Mr. 2. 8 views.
On, man. 8 views, 1 like. Aye.
I think Mr. 2, I think his dyslexia is kicking in again. I think he's thinking tumor.
Tev never saw that one coming though, did he?
No, he didn't, to be fair.
Did they know where to look?
What have we got here then? There was an Ebbs one somewhere, but it seems to have disappeared. I'll try and get that one in a minute. First of all, Jonas-Mayer can be the Hagler Hearns of women's boxing.
Fuck's sake. Who came out with that bollocks?
Was it Johnny? I think it was Johnny, wasn't it?
Oh, of course it was Johnny.
Well, you know, Johnny it gets compared all the time, doesn't it, to an absolute great fight? But they had a good scrap between them. Maybe not Hagler Hearns levels, Andy.
Remember the Kessler Frotch rematch by Eddie was getting doused up as the fucking, the Hagler Hearns of our time. Fucking Jesus, man. Everything's going to be something else, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Always comparing. Blonde Bomber said, I can't wait to get back to mauling cunts. It's what I do best, let's be real. Someone in the chat, the Nuthouse chat in there, Matty said, we don't want to know what you get up to on your OnlyFans.
Yeah, we do. Yes, we fucking do. If she's going down there scranning out the pussy, that's what we want to see.
She's loving life. What else we got here?
Oh, here we go.
PSN Coins was talking to, I can't remember who. Liam Beefy Smith. He said, I'm willing to bet a large percentage of the men who grew up in the Chechen Dagestan region have unheard of levels of testosterone compared to those of us in countries where our men are becoming women and women are becoming men at a rapid rate.
Fuck's sake. I tell you what, man, it never...
I would really like all these people who think that like the Chechen model is much better. I urge you to go to Chechnya. And if you think it's fantastic, I don't think much is going to be stopping you. They're looking for all sorts of men in their 20s and that part
saw
of the
the
world
fucking
right now.
Chechnya video a long time ago. Let me tell you something. That'll put years on you. Just mind yourself. And not to mention the fucking risk of being sold into fucking some kind of sexual slavery out there. Fucking hell.
Well, you already got the beard, Rob. You're halfway there.
Get out there with Big Daddy Brown.
Dagestan over here just means like a nightclub full of fucking ugly ones.
I thought that was a Hagistan. No. Andy, I didn't say Hagistan.
Leave him alone, Matty, for goodness sake. Like Tony Bellew. Rick Glazer tweeting out, he said, from Quality Source, the first PBC Amazon pay-per-view is now reputedly going to be March 30th with no for sure fight made of as yet, and Canelo will be May the 4th. I'm hearing Jamal Charlo for Canelo, hopefully not. But still nothing official from the PBC, despite the fact it's been 42 days since the announcement. And then Joseph Webb, friend of the pod, jumped in and said, Rick, I love the way you get behind this guy and back him. You're a true friend and a boxing icon. Unfortunately, Matty, Rick wasn't happy about that. He said, take that down or you will be blocked immediately.
Yeah. He really does take great offense to all of these things while wanting to run his mouth as he so chooses. He's a kind of thin-skinned little bitch, I think.
Oh, he is, I'd say he is. Well, he's in bed with Oscar now. Well, not literally, I wouldn't have thought.
How many?
Know, I suppose.
How many grams do you think Oscar was in when he got into them? I'd say that's like a 2 or 3 fucking day. Like, you know what I mean? He hasn't just fucking brought them with him. Maybe he has.
Well, he's actually doing the Cabo right now with the missus, so he's getting plenty of the good stuff doing in that neck of the region, by the way.
Cops coming around, shaking him down every 10 minutes. Come on, Oscar, we're finding you again, pal. Give me the fucking money, you're going to jail.
We're here, pal. We've got a couple of lines together here. I've got a photograph of myself and me gunning like a motherfucker.
Right, final one from me here. I'm the most wanted man in the welterweight division. Nigel Benn labels himself a promoter's dream as he calls out a plethora of big names, Andy. Maybe Peter Dobson is included in that.
Yeah, Peter Dobson. I actually watched a wee bit of Peter Dobson last night, by the way. And see, to be honest, he's okay, but he's very, very one-paced, very much a counter-puncher. There's a bit of movement. I'd imagine if Ben can somehow set a pace, he probably outpoints him, possibly. But it'd be interesting to see if how decent this guy right hand is, because the fight I did watch actually had the guy in his arse twice with right hand, and didn't seem to be nothing shots, but the guy went down heavy enough, so I maybe need to watch a wee bit more about him. But I see he was on Twitter today. I think it was Conor Benn saying to tell Kell Brook to stay retired. I mean, that's who he's actually calling out. So this plethora of big names that he's fucking wanting, the most wanted man in the welterweight division. Yeah, I didn't hear anybody calling him out. Why is that?
Can't fight in most jurisdictions.
Exactly. Where is he? Where's he fighting in America this time? Is it back in Florida again? Where careers literally go to die. Where, like, honestly, fucking.
I have to laugh at that guy. He's hilarious in his own way. Like, because he's fucking completely oblivious or deluded or whatever the fuck is. But he was saying like, "Oh, I'm not going to fight Josh Kelly, like, because he's a good fighter, but he's not on my radar." Josh Kelly, I'm no big Josh Kelly fan, but Josh Kelly's about 10 times better than fucking Conor Benn. Like, Josh Kelly will box the fucking ears off Conor Benn, as a matter of fact. But yeah,
you don't
he's
think
not on
he
his
get
radar.
caught with a right hand in between left hooks?
No. I think Conor Benn would probably be the only fella there that'd be there for the end of the 7th left hook, to be honest with you.
Oh dear. Right, those are all the ones that I've got. What have you got to throw in? Matty, sorry, I know you had the Bernardo Asuna one, didn't you? About a nickname?
Yeah, who was that? It was the McKenna fight.
Aaron McKenna, yeah.
He's called the Silencer. And so Bernardo Asuna, as McKenna was going about his body assault, said, his nickname is the Assassin. It should be Body Punch Guy.
Snappy. See you taking on. Body Punch Guy.
What was my Brutalmente response to you, Matty? His nickname's the Silencer because most of his fights, the crowd are in silence.
They haven't arrived yet. Haven't arrived for the main card yet.
Oh dear me. Right, anything else, Matty, to add in?
Oh, and I gotta give it under Liverpool for booing both anthems too. I mean, that was
hilarious, wasn't it? The Scousers were booing "God Save the King," and Joe Gallagher looked like he really wanted to fucking join in, and then the cameras went on him. He was like, "Shit, I better shut up and get back in the corner." Fucking hell! You see him? Yeah, Bowie got all hyped up. He looked around and all. He was like, "Will I join in?" Oh, fucking say nothing.
Somebody posted in the chat that he had to divert some flights to Liverpool, and I replied to him, they probably booed the planes as they landed.
Okay, Andy, any from you to throw into the mix, please?
Just two, mate. I think Shakur Stevenson's been putting out Twitter DMs with sparring partners and stuff. I just think he's a bit insecure. A guy who's supposed to be
get him off social media.
Exactly, mate. I think a guy who's supposed to be a future pound for pound king, who is floating about in some people's pound for pound lists, is that insecure to be fucking throwing out, personal DMs? I just thought it was a bit lame, really. And one for the referee in that Misfit show last night, who was like, doing the Logan Paul wannabe fight. motherfucker was making sure that guy was knocked out and knocked out. It was making sure he wasn't getting up. He got the full 10 count, 10 bells just about as well, man. And an absolute fucking danger to society, that referee. But
the poor fella got clipped in the first motion. I sound like Ben Davidson. In the first action, he got clipped. But he fucking did his best to get out of the fight. Like, he put his hands down, he spat his gum shield out. He was like, "Ref, stop this shit," without me saying stop it, really. And the ref was like, "Get back out here, Shaggy." And then the man came in and fucking laid him out. Like, and then he counted to 10 like a sick maniac fucking referee from the 1980s. No, Mills Lane used to always do that shit, didn't
it
he?
was Steve Smoger. It was proper Steve Smoger-esque, by the way.
That's like the Lebanon stoppage plus. It's like if you would have fucking kept counting his boy fucking down on the fucking ground.
See how many fellas went over on their own one leg like that. Mills Lane started to count for 1. You're like, fucking waste, wave it off.
He took his time with the count as well. The first time, didn't he? It was a slow 10, that one. Like.
Yeah.
Give him every opportunity, Andy.
Did Elbrook win?
Yes, that's all you can ask for. Oh, actually, won first round knockout, mate.
First round knockout?
Aye.
Quick finish for Elbrook.
Mate, I'm telling you, see the power of that. She's a professional at that, mate. See the power on that right hand, though, man. Can rattle some G spots, like. Although I was talking to a gynecologist mate of mine, by the way, he claims he doesn't fucking believe in it. It doesn't exist, he says.
Need to meet up with Elle. Oh my gosh.
Amazing.
More,
that's just what he told his missus, isn't it? Listen, I'm a gynecologist and I know it doesn't exist. Stop going on about it. Fucking arguing with science over here. Shut up about it.
You know, typically speaking, she's used to being on the other side of a quick finish.
Oh, God.
Well, we wish her well.
Come on, Rob. Come on.
Matty's not taking this seriously. Go on, Andy. Any from you?
That's it, mate. That's my mate.
Roberto, what have you got for us?
That much. I think it's funny. Like, I think I watched the head-to-head between Frank and Eddie now, that they're pals, and it was like, I don't know, one of the guys off BT or something, and they had it like head to head, and they were like, and Eddie was doing like what Eddie does. Eddie was putting the sales spin on it and all, but Frank was basically want to go, I still hate this cunt, like, but I just have to do it for the money. You could see him, he was shoulder rolling in the chair and all. He was like, yeah, fucking mug. He was dying to just go, fuck this cunt. But he was like, and they were like, how do you feel about it, Frank? He said, well, I've got to say, I agree with Eddie. he was raging.
I bet Frank went for a fucking shower after that press conference.
he was just, Hearn was talking for someone, and he was with like a spare fucking 30 seconds, pull it up. The start of the interview, Hearn just starts going on. And you got to understand, we're doing a job for the fighters, and George, and we're being silly, and they put us in a room and said, "Stop being silly." And Frank is looking at him like, "Shut up, you cunt."
you just know after the wash hands, Frank's went away, wash his hands, be fucking lie or something like that. Fuck.
I had a fucking gross.
Give me the fucking shooter.
Oh dear. Right.
Fucking mag.
Let's go through them quickly then, and then we'll make our picks. First of all, we had the Blonde Bomber. That was Ebbs. We had Harry Scarf going in on Boxer. We had Nick Pete making his scorecard known. We had Fat Smigger on Talk Sport. B-Hop there. Got a nomination. Alicia Baumgardner as well. Tony Bellew getting owned by the Chief. Liam Smith getting owned by Fat Dan. Eddie and Boxer going in on each other. Ryan Deal put his little piece in there with his photoshopping skills. Tevin Farmer throwing his hat in the ring. He missed, we can assume. Hagler Hearns for women's boxing is Jonas-Mayer, said somebody. Oh, there's Ebony again. PSN coins, that was quite a good one from him. Joe Webb about to get blocked by Oscar and by Rick Laser, rather, and Conor Benn there. And the boys at the beginning, the Tanzanian heavyweights. Andy, who are you going for? Episode 556.
A wee bit of left field, mate, but I'm going to go with Fat Dan this week. I just thought that was quality. I'd love to see him keep that same energy when Tony was piping up.
Love to see him keep any energy.
That's true, but you know, I just think the way he ended that's just because your brother got destroyed.
He tagged him in too.
Aye, so there's absolutely no hiding for it. He just owned it there. There you go, your brother got destroyed. What are you going to do about it, basically? and it's Beefy's underneath it's Beefy's comment. It's pointless.
I love the whoever was the guy that said to Bellew, tell me, Tony, how is Natasha Jonas getting stronger at 39 years of age?
The Chief.
Amazing. That was the matchup. Was it Macho Grande? Brilliant. Amazing. A couple of people called him on that one in fairness. But,
is that your pick this week, Rob? Is that what you're going for?
No, it's kind of related. I felt bad for Jonas when she got on the mic afterwards and started talking about like the community and all the people coming out to support her, and I felt like she won the fight, but it's fucking like, because I like Jonas and that, you get me, like, and you feel bad for her when Baumgartner fucking beat the shit out of her, and you think like you never see her again, like, and then like she gets her moment or whatever, but it's like the whole fucking boxing public is thinking like she didn't deserve it, but she went on to do the Oscar acceptance speech, and don't let this beat you, Michaela, and all. You can see Meyer looking at her like, if you don't shut the fuck up, you know you lost this fight. She's like, don't let this destroy you and all the community of Liverpool, and you'll be back. You're one of the top fighters. And she was like really patronizing to her, like, and she was cracking up. So that was kind of funny, like, but and her face was all marked up and all fucked up, like, and Mayer hadn't got a scratch on her, like, yeah. But stuff. Yeah, and the whole tank and bench along thing, great bunch of lads, and just Boxer in general.
I think Boxer in general.
We could do with it just without them. Like, they're not. Do you know what I mean? They're not fucking filling a gap or filling a void or anything. They're just like irritating. Fucking. Do you know what I mean? They're taking up time. Like,
it's like a red-headed stepchild, isn't it?
Yeah. It's just pointless. Like, what the fuck? Exactly. Like BV said, pointless. Get rid of Boxer. Put them in a bin.
Pointless Boxer. Put them in the Bellew of the Week bin, and also alongside the Fat Dan, Liam Beefy Smith Beef. Matty, it's wide open.
From Chuck, actually, when he said Johnny Nelson said Mayer should just get over it. Don't let this defeat her. Just fucking get over it. Get over it, man. She's not robbed, not fucking.
The fucking irony coming from Johnny Nelson saying he should go over a fucking robbery. Holy fuck! This guy cried about every defeat that he had. He went on like years later about Guillermo Jones being a fucking drugs cheat because he failed a drugs test in a fight like 20 years before he fought him previously. Fucking, and he goes on about the tradesman shagging his dog. Come on, Johnny.
Matty, who are you going for?
Steve, I'm going to put it on you because I got to go with that Bernardo Osuna. That was fucking quality. I'm sorry.
What did he say again?
He said his nickname is the Silencer, but he should be Body Shot Guy.
Oh.
I was just like, that's fucking great.
You wonder how he picked up his missus in with that.
He's single.
I was probably like, I'm your date tonight, cum shot guy.
Yeah. I'm just getting the backseat with me. I'm handy guy. Feel tits guy.
Body bag guy. Oh dear. Right, I'm going to go with Andy on this one.
Get Meyer off the screen. It feels like she's looking straight at me, and fucking get her off.
You probably couldn't get her off, Rob. Have you seen her boyfriend?
Yeah, Rob. There's a bucket of ice water for you.
Rough and tough. You ain't gonna do shit.
Right. Congratulations to Fat Dan. And
now I know why Oscar was so mad. Sorry, by the way, just a quick segue. I know why Oscar was so mad in the 24/7 versus Floyd when he stole his bag. He was wondering about what the fuck was in it. Floyd stole my bag. I got to get it back.
Oh, I dread to think. Yeah, I'm going to go with you, Andy. We'll go for Fat Dan and Liam Beefy Smith's Beef. They are the Bellew of the Week winners for episode 556. And that is where we should leave it. Nice short one tonight. No super
Dan only spotted that because he has Beefy said in his Twitter notifications just to pop up anytime he sees it.
I was going to say Dan's feud with Beef continues. Horrible cycle.
Fake beef. Right, thanks to the boys for coming on. Rob Kelly was here, Matty, Andy, Ozzy made a big return. I've been Steve Wellings. Don't forget to hit to like, subscribe, do all those beautiful things. We'll be back same time, same place next week with Matty in the hot seat. Here is the outro, and have a good week, everybody. Bye.
We'll never forget.
I think that's good happening.
Go to Adam!
We want to be honest, yeah.
Crying like a little bitch.
I've never met a fucking swank that can fight me.
I fell asleep.
You're a fucking bum, you're a fucking asshole.
Grumpo fucking Steltskin.
But allegedly, Oscar Rivas has failed a test.
7-year ain't.
I will fucking smash fucking you.
I hope you fucking die.
Be safe.
I love boxing silence, as simple as that.